Welcome to the Squad Games Podcast. Squad Games Podcast.
This is different. You know, we have a camera in front of us.
Yeah, I'm in a box.
Yeah, I'm also in a box.
I can see myself.
Yeah, and then today we have Blayne from Six-Sided Legion.
Whoa.
Legendary battle report makers over here, you know?
Hey, we try. We've definitely we've taken a hiatus, work and school stuff, but
And life.
yeah, lots of life happening. But we're hopping back onto it very, very soon. So
That's
Hey,
fair.
got celebrities here. That's rad.
Mm-hmm. It's cool. It's very cool. It's funny. It takes 3 monitors to make this show work when we're doing this.
Semi-live.
No, not semi-live. We're just recording ourselves. Like, we're not usually on YouTube, but today I forced Giacomo to do that. You know, last week we talked a lot about the medieval Middle Earth battle game.
Middle Earth strategy battle game.
Yeah,
MESBG. There you go.
Yeah, that's
you
the
go.
one.
That's how you say it. That's the acronym that we were looking for.
But today we're talking about Kill Team and all about Kill Team. Today we are going to be talking about tier lists.
Whoa.
And there's a lot of content creators out there that have already made tier lists. And we're going to go over some of their tier lists, give our thoughts and feedback on some of them, even though that they're going to be a little bit different than our own. And then we're going to make one ourselves because we're just going to be just another Kill Team tier list video.
Just another Kill Team tier list. This is all I think about when we get tier lists. I don't even know. I don't think it's sent yet. There you go. Yeah. And when I see tier lists, it's just this.
And to YouTube, so you know who we are. Me and Giacomo and Saya are some of the biggest tournament organizers for Kill Team
In Southern California.
and in the world as well. We
That's
do
true.
run Las Vegas Open, which is the largest Kill Team event in the world. And we run multiple other large events. And this is Blayne. Blayne, you do a bunch of Kill Team battle reports, and you're also a top player.
yeah, I'm just glad to be here. You know, I'm chilling with you guys, doing your first video podcast thing, and it's weird. You know, it's very weird. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a little different than now that you can see our faces.
Yeah.
You've been on a couple times, and
Yeah,
you typically
I can't just like mess with stuff on my desk anymore. While I'm
Neither can I.
talking. Yeah.
Here I can do whatever I want.
Oh, there you
I
go.
even got a
Can I just spend the podcast building models?
Sure.
Probably.
Oh man, you can see the thing that Alex Popov has made. Shout out to Alex. We did it right away. Got it out of the way.
For real, no cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it holds little tiny
heck yeah.
dice.
There you go.
And then it also the dice roller that it comes with.
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So, what have you guys been doing this past week, huh?
Well, for me, this past week, I was sick with something, home from work the entire week. It sucked.
Sucks.
A stomach thing. I'm not entirely sure. I took a COVID test just to make sure nothing positive. So I got to be thankful for that, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah. Have you been doing any hobby projects?
As for hobby, not necessarily. I did get. So I've been kind of getting into other miniature games, just casually.
Oh yeah.
I've started playing Blood Bowl. It is an interesting game, but I have a buddy who like resin print stuff and resin printed me a custom Dark Elves Blood Bowl team that I have to get painted up still. So, but they're dope. They're dope looking.
See, if I was going to play Blood Bowl, I would play the Amazonians because they have some thick thighs, and I'm all about it.
There you go. All
about it. I would love to paint those models. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How about you, G? What team would you play in Blood Bowl?
There's a silly Halloween team, and that's the one I looked at before, and I like it. Like you have ghosts that are literally just like there is like ref shirts and stuff. It's very over the top, and I like it.
That's fair.
I feel like I've seen them. Yeah,
You
it's
have.
like a necromancy team or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the look.
Yeah. Well, this week I think we filmed 3 more Hobby Highlander content, 3 more Hobby Highlanders. So we did.
One content, please.
Huh?
Can I have one content, please?
Yeah, I know, right? And then I filmed some stuff with Saya for Tabletop Mayhem yesterday, and now I'm doing this today. So there's a lot of not kill team, but just content going on in our lives.
Sure.
I'm actually really excited for the stuff you guys filmed when you described it to me. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be a lot of fun.
That looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Saya's doing a Reddit D&D horror takes. So it's like the horror stories from Reddit, and then kind of like DMs kind of responding and saying like, oh, this is how you should probably deal with the problems. I think one of the problems was like a player that was just being like really disruptive, and how to deal with a player that's being disruptive. And I don't think I've talked about this on the podcast very often, but I've ran nearly 2,000 game sessions of Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinders.
Jesus.
There's about 7 years of my life where we ran it 2 times a week. And if you do that math, I think that's like
104 sessions a year.
I think it's about 104 sessions a year times 7. That's 700 plus the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So
That's the rest of my life.
yeah. And including other games I've participated in and stuff. So I'd say 2000 is like a good mark. But between that and then being a tournament organizer, which is much like the DM of Kill Team.
Wow.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, this guy, can I see him? Yes, you can see him. He rolled a 6. I saw that. Good job. You know? So it's interesting. It's interesting to say the least. I've become the forever DM, and now I'm the forever TO. It's good stuff.
Dang, that's sad.
I have to travel at least 150 miles to usually, or more, up to like 1,000 miles to participate in a tournament. It's good stuff. But that's enough sadness about me.
It sounds pretty great, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't get to play very often, and hopefully we'll be able to start streaming in this room for everyone. Different Kill Team battle reports as well. Maybe a little bit different take, and, you know, just share the love. But that's not today's point. And we're going to be focusing on some Kill Team stuff, a lot of Kill Team stuff. So first things first, you know, we're going to talk about tier lists, you know, pretty cool.
Sure are.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have you guys watched tier list videos on YouTube this week? Hopefully 3. There's going to be 3 that we've covered so far this week, or that we're going to be covering. It's going to be Can You Roll a Crit, Command Point, and Glass Half Dead. Now, Glass Half Dead didn't go over it like a competitive list. It was a beginner's tier list, but there was some competitive in it as well, because there's a couple at the top that I'm like, that's not a beginner kill team.
No, not at all.
That's just a good kill team.
He very much follows, like, except for maybe stuff in A tier, he pretty much follows like the competitive tier list to a T.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm excited to dive into
Fun
it.
fact, I haven't watched any of them. So
Nice.
yeah, this will be interesting for me. So
He's
Yeah.
going in blind.
Going in blind. So we're gonna look at command points. Now, command points tier list was mostly, they didn't want to look at win rates. They don't want to look at how teams have performed in the past. This is strictly at top table, how they think kill teams are going to perform from now on. Right. So yeah, it's interesting.
That's an interesting.
It looks like
Shane's doing a dance.
Yeah, he's like going
Can I push this on pause? It looks like my this is exciting. This is exciting.
Are you doing anything?
It is going backwards in time for some reason. So we're gonna.
So before a tier list existed, there was blank.
Looks like it. All right. Well, we're gonna go back to this. Okay, I'm just going to close. Okay, I guess I have to close them all. I guess we're not going to go over them.
You have too many contents open at once.
I think a key got stuck. I'm not going to lie. A key got stuck. And I think it just was like reversing, you know? That's exciting. So let's try that again. And that's the magic of live video podcasts, right? I mean,
I mean, live for us, like,
Yeah.
edited for you, but we probably won't do a whole lot of editing.
Probably not.
No, it's more fun this way.
Yeah, let's go to. I will not use
I got 2 brushes.
hotkeys. You got 2 brushes?
Yeah.
I don't have any brushes. I feel left out.
So I got a question for both of you while I am figuring out this small technical aspect.
Mhm.
Giacomo, you've been steadily getting your Night Lords finished,
Mhm.
right? So what is your process, and what paints are you using for the Night Lords, and how are you liking them?
So I am using mostly pro acryl. There is a handful of non-pro acryls. A lot of the process is using an airbrush to get pretty smooth finishes for the base colors. And then I still use a brush for a lot of everything else, such as details or whether I want to get certain effects. So you still use the brush for that. And so far, I'm really digging the colors. Are they exactly Night Lord's dark blue? No. There is a color they sort of have that's in between, but I think it's just a bit too dark. So I'm using, I believe it's called dark navy blue, dark sky blue. It's a slightly lighter color, which I actually really, really like. Pro acryl paints are very nice. They're very nice when you're using them on their primer.
When people listen to the video, they're gonna hear like 5 words from Glass Half Dead. Oh, there you go. Like in the middle of your talking, or like, sorry, it got distracted.
No, I mean that was pretty good.
Right, go ahead.
That's generally the process of how it comes down to painting them. Pro acryl's awesome. Please use more pro acryl, but you got to use it with the primer. Got to use it.
Oh yeah, is that what you think?
Yeah, it's much like beloved technology that has a walled garden. You got to use all of its components. Mostly, I mean, I do have one of their brushes here. It's all right. The synthetic's okay. I wanted to try it out.
So I agree with you, especially with our runs with Hobby Highlander. We've been testing them and painting with them, and I definitely think I think Monument has definitely made paints that are better than others. There are some Monument paints that are just dog water, as I think Kel Team would say.
Wow, you don't even curse.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to, because we're on YouTube now. I'm trying not to curse.
At least not in the first 10 minutes. Sorry, first minute.
But there are some others that I think are kind of that are really, really, really good. So I'm excited to share what we found with Hobby Highlander with everyone. But yes, now we're gonna move to here. Okay, now he's no longer rewinding himself, and I've tried to make this as high quality as we could, but it is a little out of focus. It is what it is. So in their S tier, we have Brood Brothers, we have Inquisition, we have Gellerpox, and Pathfinders. A tier, Command Point, has put us with Jaegers, Scouts, Mandrakes, Nemesis Claw, Wormblade, Felgor, Starstriders, Blooded, and Commandos. B tier, we have Novitiates,
Hunterclade,
yeah. Salvagers. Some people could argue that they should be lower. I'm already starting. They need to write me in the book, everyone. Breachers, Legionaries, Phobos, Colts, Vetguard, and Corsairs. C tier, we have Hyrotech. Wow, Shane's really salty on them.
Whoa.
And their changes.
Wow.
Yes.
He punished them.
Shane
Oh,
is
no.
like, oh, you can't play this team anymore. Ho ho. If anyone doesn't know, Shane won Adepticon very recently with this team, and they just got a nerf. So it's pretty interesting. We have Blades of Cain, Exaction. Wow, he put them in the same tier as Exaction Squad.
They're a little higher than Exaction. A little higher.
I mean, but I don't know if he put these like in order of like left to right, like power, right? Like they could just be, I didn't listen to this.
I like to think so, because at S tier you have Brood Brothers, and I do think they're like the best.
Sure.
It feels right. Like that would be the place to put them, right?
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I have some very strong opinions, but you guys can outvote me. And that's the reason why we want to do multiple people. I don't want to just be like, this is Dakotah's tier list. I want to have a little bit of Midwest in here,
Okay.
We have Warp Coven and Hand of the Archon, and in D tier, they put Harlequins, Justian, Intercession, Kasserkin, and then finally Kroot. And it's interesting because Shane's also been playing a lot of Kroot. I try not to listen to the whole video because I don't want to be like swayed one way or the other. I want to have my own thoughts, right? About the teams and kind of how they perform and how I've seen them perform. So it's interesting, but I know that Shane does or has played Kroot and this other higher tech. And then I know he just won ACO with Felgor. So it's interesting that they put Felgor in the middle of A. Is there anything in their tier list that jumps out at you that's like you just don't agree with?
Yeah, I think Kasserkin should at least be in C.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't think Kasserkin are that low.
No, same thing with Void Dancers.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they can't do anything now because Flip Belt sucks, but like
there are definitely some teams in the C tier that I don't think should be higher than some teams in the D tier.
Yeah, that's what my thoughts are. Like, really, like these elites are losing to Kasserkin.
I'm also a little intrigued by the sudden jump of Inquisition because I'm pretty sure the last tier list it was like B.
Sorry,
I think
nice,
maybe, and now it's all the way at S. Like, and nothing has really changed for them. So
now I wonder if it's like their meta, like they have like somebody who's really good with Inquisition over there, so
maybe.
they've just like
yeah,
because out here I feel like we only have two players I knew played Inquisition and they're not playing them anymore.
Yeah,
like out in SoCal.
I think same thing up in the Twin Cities. Like I only knew one person who was on Inquisition and they dropped them because they just weren't performing well.
So there's a few things I'll jump in here. Inquisition just won a 92% tournament in Spain. So it's hard to say they're not an S tier team. I think that they are definitely a team that a lot of people have dropped because that team is probably the hardest team to run and run effectively and efficiently. That was Carlos Durand, who is one of the best players in the world, especially in Spain. I think he's number 1 ITC as well, currently. And I think he's been playing them for quite some time. So I think Inquisition definitely belongs there. Kasserkin, I could definitely move up a tier, I believe, with you guys. And then I don't know if I can 100% say that Legionary do not belong in B tier. If anything, they are C tier.
Really? You think they've shot that down that low?
Oh yeah, they are hot. They are not good in the slightest. I mean, Shane is probably one of the best Legionary players in the world, so I could see him ranking them a little bit higher. But I just disagree with their take, specifically because they're not good in the hands of kill team players. We run a meta watch show as well. We look at stats and all that kind of stuff, and we can see exactly how many tournament wins they actually have, including with Navy Breachers. Navy Breachers is also just
not performing well.
They are awful right now. Absolutely awful. So, and then to also put Corsairs up there. I mean, if you look at the teams, I just don't think even in their top, I mean, this is top tables. So I guess perhaps these are all correct for top tables. Maybe they're not right for our tier list. Because remember, like this is everyone's opinion, right? So like Command Point has very valid reasons. And I really hope you guys go and watch their video and see why they put it there. Cause I don't want to like steal their content and say like, hey, this is what they said. Go watch Command Point and watch their video and see why they rank these teams. So that you're not just listening to us, right? Because I don't want to create something that's just around like, this is what I believe because this is what Squad Game said. No, go look at everyone, right? We're not the Omnissiah, you know. But yeah, so this is theirs. Is there anything else that jumps out to you guys?
I'm actually kind of surprised, and this might be just because I've played the team in the past and I still have strong feelings for it. But Chaos Cult being in B tier is kind of surprising.
Not to me.
No.
So Chaos Cult is still super, super good. They're performing really well in stats, especially at the beginning of the last data slate. They were performing really, really well. Then, fortunately, they are just a really unpopular team and faction, but they are performing super, super well, and they still have a lot of teeth and bite to them. And it's hard to say. It's hard to say a team is bad when they auto win capture.
Right.
Sure.
Like they're going to win one round pretty much no matter what, unless you're going into Gellerbox. They're going to win a capture game. So no matter what, you're going 1-3 at a tournament or 1-4 at minimum, right? And then you're definitely going to probably win at least one more game because not every team can deal with 14 models right now. So like to me, I think the team is at least a 50-50, which easily puts them in B tier. I know that you won a golden ticket with them last year. What do you think, Blayne?
Yeah, that was definitely before all the nerfs, and especially after all the new teams have come out and kind of contested that spot. I think they're low A at minimum.
Okay, minimum.
Yeah, minimum, just because, right? Like there are certain teams that just deal with them now, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that in the hands of a decent player that knows a bit of strategy behind the team,
Mm-hmm.
and like you can like talk to Alexa too about this. Like we've chatted a little bit in the Discords about it. I think they're still an extremely strong team that can push for top tables and push for a win if they need to.
It's
and
interesting.
That for me puts it in A if they can compete for first.
I thought that you were actually going to argue that they were lower, and I was trying to say they were higher. But I agree with you. I think that they are.
Oh yeah. No, I believe that they should be in at least A tier, like low A.
I will say we'll look at a couple stats. I know G's doesn't like stats as much.
I'm not a stats man.
You're not a stats man, but that's okay. We'll look at a couple stats. I mean, we're looking at a video thing, so we might as well, right? So like if I pull up stats here. Oh
man. Colorful.
Yeah. Thanks. So this is from MetaWatch, right? Yes, you guys are going to have, this giant, box here screwing you guys over. I apologize, but if we look over here, I know. Can you move your box instead of can you move your head? So if we look at this is our ending screen for the MetaWatch video that just released, and these are like the total points of where every team ranked. So when you look at Mandrakes were 8th in win percentage, 2nd in placement percentage, 4th in average score. If you want to know more about these things, go watch that video. We had a couple great guests on. I thought it was pretty entertaining. But we can see statistically some of the teams that are performing really, really poorly, and Chaos Cultists performed really, really poorly in both popularity and in performance. Outside of average secondaries, they performed really well never mind. They just performed kind of low across the board, but this is not how they started. When they started, they performed really, really well in a lot of different areas. And they were the sole team above 55% win rate for quite some time. I apologize that this keeps popping up on that particular screen, but yeah, so it's pretty interesting that they did perform kind of poorly overall, but I think that's because some players were taking them when maybe they weren't as proficient with them.
Yeah, it could just be a situation where maybe some of the higher end players that were playing them in the past have moved on to one of the new teams, or maybe something like Gellerpox or Mandrakes that kind of compete with the same spot that Chaos Cult do. Mm-hmm. And that maybe some of the newer players have picked them up and not really known the deep ins and outs of the team yet. So I could see that for sure.
Yeah. We're going to move to Glass's video here. So Glass made this particularly for best kill team to start with. There's some interesting things in here, and I like some of them, and I don't like others. But some of them are definitely like, I feel they are kind of somewhat a team. Like, I feel like some of these are definitely put in here for how a team is doing currently, right? Like, I don't see Gellerpox ever being a beginning faction team.
No,
whatsoever.
not at all.
No. And what's funny is he's got Chaos Cult and C tier for this, but Gellerpox and Chaos Cult are like the same, in my opinion, the same skill level to play at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So
also Mandrakes, I don't think are A tier whatsoever.
Why is intercession literally be an S?
Actually, yeah, I actually think Mandrakes is in the right tier for a competitive list, but yes. I do think that I don't agree with his take that they're an easy team.
No.
Going to running my own tournaments, 40-person tournaments, going to Dallas, seeing how they're performing. They perform all over. They are a team that can 100% wipe out an entire tournament, and they are also a team that will go last.
Yep. I've seen that too. I haven't been to any tournaments recently, but just playing online and playing them in person, I've been up in the Twin Cities a couple of times with them, and there were times that I didn't do very well, and there were times that I did very well because it fluctuates so much sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I think it takes a lot.
If we want to see Glass's face, there it is.
Awesome. I think it takes a lot more brain power than people think to play Mandrakes. Mm-hmm. Especially because you only have 9 bodies and you're a melee focused team. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a lot harder than it looks on paper, I think.
Yeah. Now, I love that Glass put this out. I think that this is something that a lot of players do need, especially when they're looking to start going to tournaments or looking for a new team. I think this tier list is really important. Make sure you guys go check out Glass. He's been around forever, making great content. And he's also a really good dude. So, but I definitely agree with a lot of his takes for his tier list, his own tier list. We have Commandos I think they're probably one of the easier teams to pilot and also do well with. And also there is, I could see people making arguments to say that Commandos are S tier. Now, I know people are going to hang me, literally right now. I'm literally getting burned at the stake. People are in the comments right now being like, oh my gosh, da, 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 da. Or they're on our Discord being like, Dakotah, I can't believe you just said Commandos are S tier. But hey, statistically, Commandos are still doing really, really well. In fact, Commandos have the most played last data slate, and Commandos had the second most tournament wins.
I think they're legitimately, them and Intercession are the most fun to play. When I think of perfect teams, I think of those two. No one's ever talking shit about Commandos now because they're not. They're
in a much better place,
better spot, right? So whenever I see them, I'm excited to play against these guys. So that I really like where this is put. I think it's a great starting one. I think it's great to play at any level. But definitely for starting. And, you look at those rule texts, they don't got so many paragraphs on there. They got a sentence or two and that's it.
Some of those
rules most appreciated.
Make me want to. Yeah.
Yeah. You're reading novels now for some of these teams.
Too many rules. But I do like Kasserkin. I don't agree with, in our tier list or in his own tier list. I don't think Hyrotech is easy team to play. I think they used to be when they were a 2-up save to just come back to life. I think you could just put your dudes on engage on in the open, march them up the table, and then they would die and just come back to life. And you're like, yeah, cool. But I don't think they're easy to play now that, I guess with a 2-up save, they still are like 2-up save, a 2-up reanimation protocol.
I think it's still a little hard. If we're going to do a reanimating team, I think Felgor are the easiest because you just run forward
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's easy to understand, stay cover, run forward. That's a simple
Mhm.
concept to grasp. With Hyrotech, it's not necessarily run forward and get shot and then come back to life, because it might not happen. It's more of a think about your opportunity cost. Like if I get shot, I have to come back. Do I do it on this guy or do I save someone else? So they're a little more complicated. I'd probably put them in B.
Mhm.
Just,
Yeah, I'd probably put them in B, but I definitely agree with Glasses. Not for our tier list of where how powerful we might think the team is, or where they kind of are in the meta currently, right? But Justian and Intercession are definitely,
simple.
I think, are actually S tier.
Yeah, they should be the easiest one to play.
Yeah, especially Justian. Justian is like, you already come with the cards. You don't even need a book.
Right.
Yeah. And then I don't agree with Phobos or Pathfinders being in B tier. I think they're D tier. I think they are
Hard to play.
Insanely difficult to play.
Yeah, I'll give it to you.
Difficult to play.
I'll give it to you.
I almost feel like Star Striders are the same way. I don't know if they should be in B tier. I think that they're a little bit more complicated.
Once you get like probably 10 to 15 games, you can probably just raffle stomp some people, but you still need a better grasp on them.
It's a lot of like controlling and maintaining auras and like making sure your positioning is really like well kept, because you're only 10 dudes with 7 wounds or 8 wounds, right? Like it's not like your Marines.
Right. You can tank a hit.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, I think there's a lot of really easy teams, and I think there's a lot of just really bad teams.
Right. A majority of these should be in like
hard
D
teams.
tier, like almost all of them, right? And only like a few should be in S, like 4 at most.
Well, it's also interesting that he put everything in D tier. I didn't watch this whole video. I watched probably the first half and then the last part of it. So I don't think that maybe not the first half, but I definitely think that the White Dwarf teams are an extremely difficult teams, and I like that he put them at like the bottom of the bottom, But a lot of the compendium teams are beginner friendly. They're just you're just not going to win a lot of games, right?
Yeah.
But
and I think it's really funny because we just talked about this, and Inquisition it should be in D tier, right? Like it is
should be like
the most complicated team to play. Yeah. I feel like it should be at the bottom.
I think that might have been a mistake because he has Void Dancers here. Though I would totally agree that Void Dancers should be in one of the hardest to play because they just get like kind of screwed on some of the rules. But I think he was trying to make D tier just like irrelevant, but they're accidentally in D tier.
Yeah.
You see that in the corner?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so maybe that was just an accident. But if C is his lowest tier, yeah, Inquisition is hard as hell. You have not only the team, you have every single auxiliary team they can take, which is just like now you got to know even more.
Yeah, I think the C tier is probably his hard tier for bespoke teams.
I think so.
Yeah. But I think the majority of this is right on spot on. Like the majority. Like, couldn't we agree and disagree with a few things? Absolutely, but mostly it's right there.
Yeah.
I mean, Gellerpox can still be easy for a beginner team because you have 15 models, but to play efficiently and actually like if you want to take them to a tournament, they are a difficult team to perform well with.
Like I get where he's coming. Like they're very forgiving. Like your Hulks can tank stuff if you misposition them. They're not just going to die. Your little guys is a different story. But if you're playing the team, you're playing for the Hulks, right? You're not excited because you're going to get to play like the Glitchlings. You want the Hulks. So they're very forgiving for that.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of his takes are pretty. A lot of these are. I like how the dwarves are at the back of B tier.
I feel like they've gotten easier, and this is just about right because the concept is simple: grudge tokens, resource tokens. That's kind of it. I think the concept's easy. B feels right for them.
Yeah. So we'll move on to Can You Roll a Crits, and
see if he's got any wild takes for us.
I don't think so. I might have to move our camera so that we can see. There we go. Look at that.
There he is.
Oh, that's a really bad photo of him. I apologize.
You could just hit pause and or like play and just get a better look at him.
Yeah, but then everyone's going to hear him talking. Hold on. Let's hear. Can you roll a crit? There we go. All right. So we got a little bit of Can You Roll a Crit. I asked him to be here tonight, but he couldn't. That's okay. Love you, Can You Roll a Crit. I love all content creators. they make it so that we can make content a
That
little
J
easier.
Ree.
Candy Cruller Crit has some really good stuff on here as well. I'm going to shock both of you with what I'm going to say.
Okay.
When we move on to ours,
Okay.
But yeah. So there is a team missing here. I guess I can make ours just a tad bit smaller so we can we'll see the top of Candy Roller Crit's head. There we go. Can you move your box?
Yep.
Okay. So we have in S tier, we have Night Lords, Pathfinders, and Broodlords. It's interesting that both of these very big players, top players, Candy Roller Crit and Shane and Ryan from Command Point, think that Pathfinders are an S tier, even after their nerfs, right? It is pretty interesting.
I think it's just like most terrain still like favors shooting, right? So like it's still
not,
like anyone's
not the
game is hunting
WTC
season.
terrain. Have you guys seen the World Championship terrain? Like, other than the fact that they copied a lot of my terrain, or at least kind of did.
But like, how often are you playing on WTC stuff, right? Like they're playing on Vanguard, on the stuff that you make, and some other things, right?
They've been pushing it a lot. I think Goonhammer Open was played on it. There's a couple other tournaments played on it, but it's very, very, very heavy. The only thing that they really subscribe to is 2 objectives that are completely safe, 2 that are semi-safe, and 2 that are right in the open for each side.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, they have a ton of heavy terrain. Like linear inches. Like people thought my terrain had a lot of heavy terrain. They also have a lot of heavy terrain. It's pretty interesting when you look at the differences between that. If anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, you guys can check back some of our old episodes when talking about terrain and organizing and stuff. But A tier, we have Scouts, we have Inquisition, Felgor, Salvagers, Gellerpox, Starstriders, Wormblade, Novitiates, Hunterclade, Commandos, and Mandrakes. In B tier, we have the Jaegers. God, some of these are difficult. I just wish they had names, We have Jaegers, Colts.
Hand of the Archon.
Hand of the Archon, thank you. Exaction Squad, Higher Tech Circle, Breachers, Phobos, Blooded, Legionary, Corsairs, Warp Coven, and Vet Guard. C tier, we have Blades of Cain.
Blade of the Archon.
Blade of the Archon. That would be a cool team. Blades of Cain, then we have Kasserkin, Kroot, Void Dancers. It's interesting that he put Void Dancers right above Intercession. I just don't think I don't know if that's true. We have Justian, and I think it looks like then Compendium. The rest,
right, the last few compendiums that are worth taking.
There's some good Compendium, secondary Compendium, and then E tier, which is like the teams that have been replaced or just like trash tier. I agree with a lot of these. There are certain things that I definitely disagree with, just like Shane's and stuff. Interesting contrast between Shane's command points and Candy Roller Crits is, I think Breachers is dead even on both. They both put them in B tier. Legionary are up there for this tier list as well. We have Void Dancers really low. I don't know if I agree with that. They're a very unpopular team now. They are like extremely unpopular.
Didn't the Blades of Cain win a couple of like bigger tournaments not too long ago too? And everybody was like super hyped about them and talking about how good they were and everything.
There's a little bit of controversy about the Blades of Cain win on the West Coast, the one that we ran, and we had they didn't actually win. We had to go back a couple days later, change a few results. They're doing well, but they're not like crushing tournaments.
Sure.
Right. They have a really poor win percentage, and they're a team that is like really good in like certain players' hands. So like if there's a person with a galaxy gigabrain, gigachad brain out there, right? Then like you can perform really well with the team. But otherwise they kind of struggle. For multiple reasons. We'll have to see. I mean,
You notice how Colts are in B again?
Yeah, I did notice that.
They're not in A like you guys are talking about.
Honestly, I think they're suffering from the same thing that like you just kind of talked about with Blades of Cain, right? Like if you are really good with them, you will probably take them to the top tables and contest first place. But like casual or mid-rangey kind of players who don't play a lot are not going to be able to do that. So
yeah. The other thing that we have to remember is that there's always going to be a different meta in each country, right? So like Spain's going to have a different meta. Europe's going to have a UK, Poland, the US. We mostly speak on US because that's what we're most familiar with. I know that like Inquisition is S tier in Europe, but it's not S tier in America. I haven't seen anyone win a major tournament with it. They have the capability 100%. Like if Worlds was next week, would I put them there? Yeah. But the next big event for us is Tacoma. Supposedly Games Workshop has sold, 100 tickets.
That's huge.
Do we think Inquisition's going to go to that tournament and win? Absolutely not. I just don't.
Absolutely not.
No. But I mean, that's why he hasn't put him in there. I mean, he also, I know that in his video, he did say that he did not put his stuff in order. He just put them like, these guys are all balanced in A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, so on and so forth. So we can't really look like left to right how powerful are some of these teams.
Except for, Tau and Brood Brothers, they seem to consistently make it to S.
Yeah, which is interesting. I definitely think that's interesting. And I think we should all define what we think S tier means, because S tier means something different to Can You Roll a Crit compared to Shane, compared to Chris Baki, compared to me, compared to G, compared to you, and including to the viewer. Like, what does S tier mean to you? What does A tier mean to me? Right. So we'll try to clearly define those as we move forward. So, yeah. And, I think that's interesting. Okay. So we'll move on over here to, there we go. There we go, everyone. It's our time to talk and stop stealing content from all of these wonderful, beautiful creators. Again, like without these other creators, I don't think me and G would be here. I know I originally started my journey with Kill Team listening to Beernid and Glass Half Dead.
Same.
Right. I listened to Beernid in my shower while I was showering,
Made me want to play Tyranids.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Oh, no, not me. I fucking hate Tyranids.
I love the Tyranids when he was explaining them back in the day. Like, I was like, I'm totally playing Tyranids and Kill Team. Then I never did. So I just played my Blood Angels because that's what I had done.
I was a dirty elf lover back then, and I've seen the light of the Emperor, and I'm on his side currently.
Do you guys remember Shadow War Armageddon?
I don't even know what that is.
That's fine. No one else remembers it but me. Like,
You're probably
before Kill Team was going to come out, Shadow War was sort of like this in between. And then Kill Team 2018 came out. If in Shadow War you played either Eldar or Grey Knights because you couldn't lose. Like I'm serious. Like it was so hard to beat those teams. It played more like Necromunda. Like if that it had a lot more of those rules. Like you got shot by the side of the bridge, you could fall off, kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah. Is whatever. Kill Team is better, in my opinion.
I think Kill Team's really good right now.
Yes.
Especially statistically, I think that Kill Team has gotten a lot better. We rarely see anyone outside of the 55% win rate high end. I think this past data slate, we only saw 2 teams. Outside of the 2 brand new teams. Those 2, when the 2 brand new teams came out, we had Brood Brothers with nearly a 60% win rate and 40 games, and Jaegers with 12 games and like a 57% win rate or something. But the problem is like you have 12 games, it's basically statistically irrelevant, right?
Right.
I guarantee you all 12 of those games were somebody their opponent was brand new to the team too. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So the only two teams that were outside of the 55% win rate was Gellerpox and Wormblade. And when you think about those two teams, what do those two teams do better than anyone else? Gellerpox, win capture, 1/3 of your games, and Wormblade, win loot, 1/3 of their games.
Mm-hmm.
It's relatively easy to see. And we're speaking from a competitive standpoint at this point in time, right?
Right.
Because we currently play with Crit Ops, and I just lost my camera.
uh-oh.
I did. Can you guys see me still?
No.
I see the black void that is your thoughts of Kill Team.
That's fair. But you guys can still hear me, which is
I
great.
can still hear you.
Yep.
Yes.
That is fantastic.
It is quite fantastic, guys.
Mm-hmm. I think this camera overheated.
Oh, that does happen sometimes. That can happen.
It can.
That used to happen in my old phone I used to use for webcam stuff, and
Oh, yeah?
it would overheat and just turn itself off.
Yep, machines do that to save themselves. So I guess in this downtime, what would you consider the tiers? Like what, Blayne, what is your S
I
to
guess,
D?
Okay, so in my opinion, I'll just start with A because A is like I think a good baseline.
Okay.
A is like in my head a tier that can contest for first place. There are teams that will more than likely be top 4, top 8 of a tournament.
Okay.
S tier, I think, are teams that more than half the time will be at that top table, that streaming table that's competing for first and second, right? Like you're probably going to see one of those teams at that top table. B is anything that, I feel like B is definitely something you might see a little bit at top tables, might break, top 16. But outside of that, they're more so teams that are going to be maybe even dominating lower tables, and those are where the wins are going to be coming from.
Right.
And once they hit that, that top 16 or top table kind of area, they start to fall behind compared to the higher teams.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of where my head's at with, what the tier lists mean.
Now, what about S? S, you're saying it's just like
S. Yeah. S, I said is like one of the S tier teams are almost guaranteed to be at the top table contesting for first or second. Yeah.
Which is interesting to think about because I usually assume that they would be a team that's almost insanely easy to play because they have such great tools. Like it's almost impossible to beat these guys when I think of S tier.
Yeah, I definitely think that they like S tier teams, even in general, over the past 3 years of this edition of Kill Team, have been teams that have an insanely good toolbox and a variety of play styles. And each play style is in contention for the best play style. And you see that with, Pathfinders have been in all, like both S tiers. And, like I've talked to both Chris Baki and I've talked to Travis, and they both have wildly different play styles for Pathfinders. But they both are still very good players with them and take them to top tables, right? Baki won, what was it, Dallas, right? With Pathfinders?
He did.
Yeah. So, like, I think those teams need to have toolboxes that can deal with any other team to be able to be in that S tier.
That's fair. My S tier is a team that can deal with any team at any time and if they show up in like a good player's hands, they will just win. They have the likelihood of winning the tournament. That's why like at LVO, we had Vet Guard and Commandos in number 1 and number 2. And I argued for Felgor and I was denied, but they should have been.
Yeah.
Felgar came close, man.
They did. My A tier is kind of like My A tier is a team that is probably, if you take the team, no matter what, they're probably going to go positive. Also, the team has a very good chance to win, to win the tournament, right?
Right.
My B tier is likely to go positive, but not guaranteed, and has a small chance to win a tournament, like a large tournament, like a 40 person, 50, 60 person tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the way up to like 100, right? C tier is they're probably going to go negative, but they might not. And D tier is they're going to go negative at a tournament. And when we say positive and negative, for anyone who's watching us for the first time on YouTube, we're saying like at a tournament, when you go, are you going to go, if it was a 4-round event, you would go 2 and 2, that would be even, right? 3 and 1 would be positive. 1 and 3 would be,
Negative.
Yeah, think about it like a Call of Duty KD ratio, you know?
There you go. But no assists.
Yeah, exactly.
No assists.
Yeah. Well, there could be draws, which you could count as assists.
That's true. But yeah, so when that's kind of like how I look at it. And how about you, G?
For the most part, that's exactly what I think about. But specifically just with S tier and maybe even some A tier, it comes down to like abilities that are almost broken. Like, because when I think of like tier lists, I think of all the fighting game tournaments I've been to. Not that I attend them to play in them, but I like to watch because my friends are really into them. And a lot of the times they'll explain like there's some move sets that some characters have that whether you're a good player or even just like a mid player, that's so strong that you can win with it regardless. Right. Obviously, the better player is going to be the winner, but you could still take the whole tournament with this character, with this team. Right now, we're seeing that probably with Brood Brothers because they have all these insane tools that are just so strong. True. And Pathfinder still has the ability to guarantee to go first at a critical moment, which is so strong. Right there, it's not even like a Caster Kid one where you have to roll for it and you might not get it. You just get it, which is. There's another really crazy thing that I want to talk about just before we get into this. And on the Squad Games podcast, we do deviate a lot. Sometimes it takes us a while to get to the point, right? But that's why people watch us, you know? Yeah. So I want to read a passage from the MetaWatch update from Games Workshop. Okay.
And the reason, the space. So this is about Scouts, right? The Space Marine Scout Squad gets its first update since release of Kill Team Salvation, with a relatively major boost of an extra operative, likely to prompt a swift change in their fortunes. Now, the question is, do you think that it was bigger to give them an extra operative or to change their damage profile to 4/6?
Damage.
Okay.
God, that's a tough one because.
Oh, I'm not done.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Keep going.
Okay. Their Hunter and Warrior operatives also get a small boost to their close combat damage, which should help them against marauding Felgors in particular. And that's the only thing they said about Scouts. Now, this was also the shortest Kill Team update, like, of any other update that they've given us. I just don't think they knew what to say. Like, the backlash from the community about how the power that they've given Scouts has been quite raw, to say the least.
Yes.
I'm on that train of, I think that Scouts are insane now. They were already good. We've seen them. So there's a player in our meta named Austin Lewis, and he could perform really, really well with the team before they even got there. But there was a specific way to play the team in order to make them more efficient. And I don't think a lot of people wanted to spend the time to unlock that. Right. I think Scouts are kind of crazy. They're kind of crazy, but I'm going to actually come out here and let's actually label these. So S tier, are you guys okay with saying that S tier is a team that basically has no counters?
Yeah, that'd be a good way to do it. Like, it's
how
do you beat this team, right? So they're like Super Saiyan 5. What's the Saiyan level at now?
Super Saiyan, well, Ultra Instinct and it's like Ultra Ego, you know. Yeah, I'm a nerd. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. So A tier, you guys would say is would you? How do you guys want to define A tier for this specific? Do we want to say they have a chance to win an event? They're going to be positive, or do you want to go more with what Brett said? Blayne. Sorry, my bad. That's the thing. I always fuck up your guys' name
Shane
once.
And Ryan too.
I know.
I do.
It's funny because they're both B names, so you're not the only one.
It's my listdexia. Okay. Speech dexia.
Name dexia.
Okay.
My mom does it too. It's fine.
Okay. What does she call you, Giacomo?
Well, sometimes she'll call me my uncle's name and stuff. Like, well, I'll be talking to her on the phone and she goes like Nando, and I go, that's not my name. Oh, like that's totally normal. You know, it could just be like things we're thinking about.
That's fair.
You know?
That's fair. What do you guys want to define A tier?
Going positive.
Well, but that's A tier is kind of high
like
for
given.
Going positive.
I feel like that's a given. Yeah, I think
fair
it's
counters. I
think it's contention for top table.
Okay.
Because they have a good chance at pushing onto those S tier teams, but they still obviously are at a disadvantage when they play against them. But contention for top tables, I think, kind of sums it up.
What happened?
I think your keyboard exploded.
It did. Yeah, this is cool. Now people can see my actual listdexia. How do we spell contention, everyone?
You had it.
Hey!
Yay for Windows.
For viewers who are listening, or for listeners, there was quite the autocorrect error on the screen. If you want, you can catch this on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'm a nerd, but I'm also not that smart. Okay. B, what are we going for B? Is this likely to go positive, or how do you guys want to define a B tier?
It's a little bit more of an uphill fight, but you still have a good chance. Like
what about
you probably won't make it to top. You'll break 16?
I mean,
is what you said?
So I could be boring and I could just go fair because they're probably the fairest teams in the meta, right? Like they don't have
balanced. This is B for balanced. Nice.
Yeah, I mean B for balanced.
You.
Also like fair as in their rules, right? They don't have a lot of gotchas. They're not gonna like swing some I'm gonna take your activation with my Primarch or my Patriarch, right? Like you know, they're very hand on the table, right? Cards revealed, I think.
Yeah. All right, I'm down. So B for balanced. Also, that balance means they're probably a 50-50 team, right?
Yeah.
Okay. At minimum. So what are we looking at C tier? So like C for, I don't want to say that word. That's a really bad word.
I was thinking the same thing.
C for can't. No, I was like can't go positive, but I don't think that's like, there are teams that are bad that can go positive. There is.
Yeah.
But as the majority of players, because that's what we're talking about here, is we're not talking about you, right? The person that's playing the team. We're talking about the general mass of people who play Kill Team. You know, can somebody take Intercession and win an entire tournament with them?
Absolutely. They
are still a good team, and there are people out there that can do that. Can everyone do that? No.
What is?
There can only be one. That's a thing that we say on Hobby Highlander, but there still can only be one winner of a tournament, right? Like if you go to a 113 person tournament or 131 person tournament, like last year's LVO, there was still only one person who won the whole thing. There's 131 people that went, that, you know, whether or not that they wanted to win or not, you know.
All Valley Team Tournament has to have a word.
Oh yeah,
they have 3 winners actually.
They have 3 winners. Yeah.
Yeah. For anyone that doesn't know, that's our big tournament that we run out here in California. We're also giving away 3 golden tickets for that event.
3.
It's going to be amazing. And you came last year, Blayne.
I did.
It was sick.
Yep.
It was sick.
It was pretty cool. We pretty much spot on guessed exactly what the third season of Kill Team was going to be. So
yeah, we kind of did.
I think for like C tier teams, they have a few good rules that are like strong, but not, it's not gonna really take them to that place, right? Like you could argue,
so strong rules,
but like,
but will struggle to go positive.
Something like that. If we could think of a word for that. I couldn't think of a word for that.
C for below average, right?
Okay.
I mean, it's not anything catchy, right? Like B for balanced, but
yeah.
Below average? No.
Yeah. C for catch these hands.
They're catching the hands.
Yeah. C for catching the hands. Yeah.
And then D, you're really handicapped. It's like the handicap. They're just bad.
You wanted to challenge yourself. Or you just own these models.
D for handicap. That's obviously we're seeing my list Dexia, right? Do we want to call this something else?
D for down bad.
Dang, they're down bad.
Capital
oh my
bad.
God.
For bad. Dude, I love that like 3 of our things are like start with B and like
no.
C.
D should be down bad, but bad is capitalized because it's the emphasis of bad.
Yeah.
So down.
Mm-hmm. And then bad. Just like that.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what's up.
That's fair. Okay. All right. Okay. So we have the things that we want to, are how we're going to label this list. And I think we're on the wrong one. I apologize, everyone.
Are we going to just say that outside of like the handful of companion teams that are worth it, we're not even going to judge those other ones?
No, I think that we can judge maybe Talons.
That's what I mean. Outside of the few that are like worth playing.
I think like, Talons and Tyranids are the only 2 that we should.
That you really would want to, play these days.
Like I could see an argument for like maybe Demons.
Yeah, Demons too. So let's rank those 3 teams, right? Yeah. Now here's my thing. I do not think in this current state there is a singular S tier team. I don't think there's a team that exists that has no counters. I think some people could argue for Brood Brothers and some people could argue for Scouts, but I don't think that there is a current list. For me, I would put no teams in.
So should we change no counters then? Because then that's not relevant.
I think it's more clickbaity to have no teams in S tier.
Ooh.
Well, I don't think that's accurate though, because if you look at A, someone's going to rise. Like 1 or 2 is going to rise in A, right?
100%. I think there's a lot of teams that have the possibility of taking it down. If we look just at statistics, it's Gellerpox and Wormblades. That's that. If you look at more than that, if you look at last Pathfinders won the last balanced data slate. They had 6 tournament wins. Then was Mandrakes. Mandrakes were right behind them. Well, it was Commandos, but Mandrakes overall did really, really well. So if you wanted to say there were 4 S tiers, you could say, or 5 S tiers, you could say Brood Brothers, Mandrakes, Gellerpox, Wormblade, and I forgot already, but I did name them all. Yeah.
I think at that point, S tier really can only ever make it to about 2 or 3. Anything more than that, then at that point, it's like, why even, just throw them in A.
Yeah. But I go back to it, and I don't think there's any team out there that I think just goes to a tournament in the right person's hand and they're going to win no matter what. Yeah. Felgor used to be that way. There's a couple old Colts used to be that way. That.
hey, you watch it, okay?
Commandos used to be that way. Pathfinders have been that way.
I think the only reason, and I haven't personally played against them, but I think the only reason Brood Brothers would be in S tier is because they're brand new and they've got a lot of gotchas. They have a lot of, hey, you're going to be at -1 APL in 2 different areas. Or, hey, I'm going to take your activation. Or, hey, my guys can't be injured or be stunned and have a 5-up invul up board-wise.
Or, hey,
right?
my guy died, but he really didn't because he's next to a banner bearer.
Yeah, exactly. They have a ton of gotchas and just massive bodies. So I think combined, they are probably S tier because of those reasons. And maybe they haven't been figured out yet, right? Their counters haven't been figured out. So,
yeah. But I mean, a lot of people in SoCal, a lot of highly competitive players think scouts are S tier.
So I haven't seen scouts since the data slate, so I wouldn't be able to tell you.
So they haven't really won a really major tournament. They've done well, right? But they haven't really taken anything down. And I think before I'm comfortable saying scouts are S tier, they'd have to take Tacoma, right?
I think they're A.
I think they have
calling
counters.
If you're calling in a team S tier and they're not winning tournaments, that I don't think they belong in S tier.
They can't. They can't be.
And for Brood Brothers, I think it's still too soon, right? Like they haven't been out long enough for them.
They
to
also haven't won.
Yeah,
I mean, Inquisition. They got second place. They've podiumed at a lot of events.
Sure,
but they haven't won anything like 60 person. You know,
and that comparison right there makes me think of Void Dancers, right? They podiumed a lot of tournaments but never won, and they were never S tier, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it might be a similar situation with Brood Brothers here, where I personally can't feel comfortable placing them in S tier without seeing them actually win something.
So then realistically, we would just say Pathfinders then.
I mean, the question is, did the Pathfinders nerf hit them hard enough where they just don't guarantee win tournaments anymore? Because yes, they're still a really good team, but they are a tad bit weaker. But I still don't think it was like the right nerf.
Right, because players, like you had mentioned, players weren't doing that first turn Alpha Strike anyways. They were doing it second turn.
Well, like
it just doesn't give them the option anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if they don't want to play risky, now they don't have a choice.
Well, they just played more of a cheese. They used to play more of a cheese strat.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
Like they got rid of the cheese. So
yeah, it's the same thing they did with Commandos, right? Like they stopped the turn 1 Alpha Strike. So,
but Commandos are still really good. But the question is does Pathfinders? Because here's my thing. When I start looking at top players and I start looking at what they're actually taking to tournaments, I don't see top players taking Pathfinders anymore. I don't see top players converting to Pathfinders. I see top players taking other teams or looking at the meta and taking teams that will beat Pathfinders or other things rather than taking Pathfinders. Whether or not that's because Pathfinders are toxic in nature or people don't want to have to play them or have the mental load that team causes you to have. When you look at the overall meta and how players are playing them, and after the current data slate, they didn't win the 90-person tournament. You know, I think it's really unfortunate the way that Spain tournament happened because there was 30 players that were 3-1.
Gotcha. So like one
so
more
strength
round
of schedule
kinda
push them out.
Yeah, and that's what it was. They did strength of schedule, which let certain players advance and not others. So it was kind of hard to see who was actually the most powerful at that event. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe we don't start with this. Maybe we'll start from bad. How about that? Let's start with bad.
Okay, let's start with bad. That one we know.
Who's bad right now? Kill Team Justian because they're bad.
Yeah,
they're a
bad.
marketing team that buy the gotcha.
The past four, like the past four three meta watches, however many meta watches we've done, and the past like 4 data slates that we've been tracking their stats, they have been consistently the worst performing kill team, hands down.
Yep. And
they are
chapter tactics.
And I don't think that they will ever see a change because
they have
because of the physical cards, right?
The
like the physical
cards
cards and stuff are going to prevent them from ever seeing a change, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know what they do if they even want to make them good.
You get more value of keeping this team in the box and having the collection.
Give them the 7th body. Maybe that'll do
Just
it.
give them
Damn, could you imagine?
Just give them
the
all 7 bodies. Yeah.
7 bodies, or give them chapter tactics.
Yeah.
I'd rather they have chapter tactics. Honestly, that's I
Sure.
think that's the only reason I think.
No, they're
Intercession's
so
slightly
basic.
better.
They're so basic, dude. You have to give them a +1 body. Look what happened to scouts. They got
There
+1
you go.
body
Yeah.
because they're basic, right? Unfortunately, even though they are my favorite team for multiple reasons, I think Intercession is also in the bad tier.
They're going to go in the bad tier.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's probably fair.
Yeah. I don't think that they're good. I haven't thought they're good ever since they got their last nerf. Jason Stanecki won SoCal Open with them, made me eat my words. But ever since then, they have not been good. Could they win they have won multiple 16-person tournaments, but they rarely ever win a 30-person tournament, and they haven't won a 40 or something.
Do we put them in at the bottom of below average then? Because they can do it, where down bad is like you're never going to get out of that pit. Because Justin's never getting out of the pit.
So
Justin's never, yeah.
My thought here too is D tier. If they're never going to get out of that pit, they're never going to like get up into the top tables or even like above half. Then I think Justin is probably my only D tier, because I think every other team can at least push a little if the player is good enough to like learn the ins and outs, right?
Yeah. So if we look here,
that could work.
we look here.
Soccer Kin bad. Oh no.
Oh, this is wrong.
So, and I know Kinband is like one of those like should be obvious like D tier, but I have also seen them pre nerfs do like not the first nerfs, like the first wave, but pre the second wave of buffs. Oh my goodness. I've seen them do extremely well because one player knew exactly how to play them, the ins and the outs, like almost to the skill level of like playing Pathfinders and learning them so well that they could push to a win. And I have seen that. Now, if they are still like that, I couldn't tell you with the new teams and stuff, but I almost feel bad for putting them in D tier if that's the case.
I wish they still had the GA2 for the dogs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's important.
So if we look at this real quick, we can see the win percentage from last data slate. Obviously, scouts are not going to be at the bottom anymore. Obviously, right? Farstalker kept getting buffs and they just got worse and worse and worse. Intercession's also the 30th worst team with 334 games, which is, I think, third most games played that past data slate.
Again, it's the team you give your new friend who's like, well, he's never done a tournament before. You know, this is her first time. So she's going to like try this out. And then like, you know, they just do very mid.
And we've seen a lot of top players move on from Intercession as well.
Yeah, because there is better elite choices.
We also have Imperial Navy Breachers down at the bottom in the pits. We have Hearthkin, Kasserkin, Legionary, and Strike Force Justian. In fact, it's funny that we said how bad Strike Force Justian is when they're at the top of the bottom pile of win weight percentage. Now they only have 40 games.
That's
so
why.
We can't. They only have 40 games, right? So they've won 10 of them, you know?
Alex Popov and I had 8 of those games added to the board. So we took them to a tournament and we got to play each other.
Yeah. So this is something you guys can pause the video if you guys want to, but this is interesting at least to say. You know, you have a few other teams that kind of got buffs and nerfs, right? But my argument stands that I think that I think Intercession belongs in bad.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
Yeah,
I think there's just enough.
So.
Unfortunately, they are my favorite team because I think a really strong intro team is really good for the game.
At least in like a mid tier, they should be at least like somewhere in balanced. Yeah, that'd be fine, but they're not.
They're not good. Do we want to move on? What else? Legionary. Legionary is the next one.
You want to go buy like elites just to get all the elites out of the way?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's get all the
F
elites
it.
away.
Make it easy
Let's get them
that
all
way.
on the bottom.
Yeah. No, I think Legionary now I think they're balanced. I think they're one of the more fun teams to play too. I should have mentioned that earlier.
You think Legionary are balanced?
I personally think, and maybe this is a hot take, but I think Legionary should be at the top of C tier. I think that they're below average.
Okay.
I agree with them being below average.
Strictly
Giacomo has been outvoted.
I've been outvoted.
Because Phobos and Night Lords exist, and like that's enough to like put them off of ever.
Well, it's interesting. Phobos used to be really bad into them, and then they got AP1 as a buff.
Right, when they did their deadly shots. Deadly shots that you no longer had to stand still for.
Yeah.
So we brought up the word Phobos. Where are we putting Phobos? Are we going to...
They're in B for sure.
I think at minimum they're in B. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think they're balanced. There's a lot of teams that they don't do good against, though.
Agreed.
Like a lot of teams.
And I think that's perfectly balanced. You know, you should have teams that you aren't good against. You should have teams that you are. Yeah. You see a lot of Phobos players go into a tournament and they either do really well, they do really poorly, or they go 50-50.
Yep.
I think they are, if I was looking at Kill Team, I would say that they are a really balanced team.
Yep. And their abilities are cool. Like like you can play them very wildly different ways.
Fast, tanky.
Look at Jason Fay, right? From Twin Cities, took him to what was it, Adepticon, and did full engaged what was it, Infiltrators, I think, like every game. And I think he went positive. Like it's really funny, but
he also did really well at LVO with Intercession.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
maybe,
he did.
Maybe he's just the new elite player. I don't know.
And then you brought up Nightmare Claw, not Nemesis Claw.
They're A for
Nike,
sure.
Yeah, they're at minimum A.
Minimum A, man.
They're definitely the best of the elite teams
right now.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm so upset that you guys don't feel the sentiment about Legionnaires, but that's all right.
Legionnaries.
This is a democracy. You outvoted me. I got outvoted.
Yeah, they're just outclassed. They're old news, you know.
So
those players moved to Nemesis Claw.
Yeah.
Even with their buff, I don't think the team has enough legs to do anything. Now, obviously, at the Bay Area Championship, there were a lot of Felgor. There were a lot of the other thing that. They had a lot of Felgor. There's a lot of Nemesis Claw, so they did actually pretty well.
We had the right amount of Legion. Yeah.
Every tournament has a meta. We're just kind of speaking like general, like this is kind of like how the teams typically are now, right?
Yeah.
Or what we think they are now.
I also think it's good to point out that like not all of our bias is strictly on tournaments and how they perform at tournaments. I almost feel like it should also be how they perform against other teams in general, right?
Yeah.
Like even in pickup games with like average players, like, you know, Legionaries are probably still going to lose to a lot of other teams, and they just lose to Nemesis Claw. Like,
yeah, they definitely can win some of those pickup games.
They
for
can
sure.
definitely like push to win, but I don't think it's average. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless if your name is Shane C. Smith.
Yeah. And look, even he's moved on, right? Like
we're calling him out right now. He's going to take him to like Worlds and win the whole thing. With him,
or something. Yeah. Crazy.
hey, we'll eat our words. You know, that's cool. I'm down.
We did it with Hyrotech, you know.
Man, he threw those away in the garbage.
Yeah, they are bad now, apparently.
No, I think they're fine. Sure, the number does probably skew less in their favor because they don't get +3 in wounds now. Like, but it's.
I think that they're actually a balanced team now. I think
I think they're balanced. Like,
yeah.
We may as well just throw them up there.
Mm-hmm. The team to me, I think is
an elite team, by the way.
Yeah, it is kind of an elite team, but it's interesting because there's a lot of different ways to play them. The Technomancer has a little bit more play than he used to.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that it was toxic to give them a 2-up save. So firstly, the most toxic thing about the team they nerfed a long time ago, which was the nano mine thing that slows everything within 6 inches.
Ugh.
Toxic as shit. That's how he won. Get it out of here. Right?
I had a lot of very bad games with Chaos Cult.
I hate it so much. Man. Fuck that move.
You can talk to Shane about it. Shane and I have played 2 games where we have tied because Chaos Cult just can't move through that, right? Like it's so bad. But
so then they were like, okay, we're going to take that away, but now we're going to give their revive a 2-up, and now they come up on a 2-up, and they come back hella strong, which was also super, super toxic. I think if you're pretty much a guaranteed coming back, right, you should come back injured. If they were a 3-up, then perhaps they come back with more wounds because it's not a guarantee. Look at Felgor; they come back 100%. But they're gone. Yeah, they're gone and injured.
Yeah.
No matter what, next turn they are gone, right? Which is different.
I think if that were the case, I think the Technomancer would probably be the best option, right? Because the Technomancer can wipe injury, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also gives them another revive, gives them extra wounds. Like if that were the case, I think the Technomancer would be the top pick. But for the reason that they don't come back injured, why? Why take the Technomancer, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good point.
And the team is still pretty strong. They do really well. But are you going to see top players playing them all the time now? I don't think so. I think that's reserved for the A tier.
Yeah, I think it's a cool pick. I think if you're really good at the team and you know their ins and outs, like every team, I think they can still contest, but it's going to be
They can
hard.
still win a tournament too, but it's just going to be difficult.
Yeah, and they have a lot of not so great matchups right now.
Yeah,
so
totally agree. How about Void Dancers? They are a spicy topic. They got nerfed, then they were like, hey, that nerf was correct. Everyone thought the nerf wasn't correct, but it is correct. The nerf we're talking about is they used to have fly, and then they were like, hey, now it takes 2 to climb, 2 to drop, and 2 to traverse for everything. Even if it's less than 2 inches to drop, you still cost 2 inches to drop because screw you.
Yeah, they're now worse than most teams with climbing equipment.
I would agree. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think they had definitely a long time in the sun of doing really well and making a lot of people upset.
I don't know if this is going to be a hot take or not, but I think they have to be placed below wherever Kroot lands. They have to, because I believe they're just strictly worse than Kroot, especially with the movement stuff.
I will disagree. Kroot fucking suck. They're really, really bad.
But Kroot have tools and more bodies.
Listen, my guy. Listen. They had a 36% win rate. They had 130 games. Okay. There's a guy in Texas who played 3 or 4 tournaments with them and won 15-1. He himself is 20% of their win rate. One guy. Okay. Kroot are bad. And it's maybe because there's not a lot of people playing them and maybe people don't like them that much. Maybe it's their rules and stuff, but
I know that I've talked to some people about them too. And the one trick pony of balance the books and
is the
plant
trick to
and
do.
is the thing to do. But the
thing is that they still with balance the books and stuff, they still have one of the lowest secondary rates, period.
Sure. And maybe the thing with them is that you don't do that. You don't do the one trick pony. And maybe people just haven't experimented outside of the meta with that team yet. And so they're just bad. Right.
So but the difference is with Void Dancers is that Void Dancers still currently have some of the highest scoring secondaries. They don't score primaries as well, from what I remember. But they still score secondaries way better than this team. So, and I think that's specifically because they have an invulnerable save. They stay on objectives a lot easier than Kroot. Kroot have 7 wounds and they die like paper, right? They die like veteran guard, but they don't have they can't stay alive no matter what they try. Void Dancers have less bodies, but at least they can score points for longer. And I think that's specifically the reason that they score more points, that Void Dances are better than Kroot. That's my opinion.
Yeah, just getting more primaries, I would give it to them. I'd put them in C, but I'd give it to them above Kroot.
Sure.
What do you think? I know that we both just ganged up on you there, but it is a democracy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is a democracy, and I can't argue against it. But if that's the case, I think then, in my opinion, they are probably neck and neck.
Do you think they're still neck and neck? Okay,
I would still put Kroot and C below them, if not the bottom of C tier, because
does Intercession beat Kroot? If that's a yes, then they can't be in C. I've never lost to a Kroot player. I've never lost to a Kroot player.
I think Kroot's the worst.
I've just seen a few Kroot players who are very good at playing them.
I agree. I think that there are some Kroot players that are like, they have talked to the Tau Empire a little bit too much, right? And they subscribe to the greater good, and the rest of the Kroot players are just a bunch of Kroot, and they're just trying to eat people, and that's cool.
Sure. That's fair. We'll put him in D tier then. I can't argue. I can't argue with it. I have my opinions, but I can't argue against squad games. I can't.
Yeah, get bullied.
Yeah, get bullied, my guy.
I'm being bullied into submission.
All right.
Maybe I just like the Kroot rules and mechanics just a little too much, but
that's all right.
I think they're pretty cool.
I can appreciate that you like that.
Next up is, let's talk about Breachers. I think Breachers are actually
the Kroot counterpart.
I think Breachers are kind of good, but I think they have way too many bad matchups now. Like, they're good into Vetguard, but who's playing Vetguard nowadays?
Yep.
Yeah, I put them in C.
I think they're in C.
I think they're in C.
I think their potential is high. No one's playing them. They're a very, very unpopular team.
I think that, hear me out here, I think that they're above Legionaries and
I would agree. I would agree with that.
I think that they just have more bodies and enough AP to take those teams out and beat those teams. So
unless your name is Shane C. Smith.
Sure. Yep. Well, we just like the Kroot, I think we have to avoid the high and low ends,
Yeah, I agree.
Would you rather see Navy Breachers get access to their pets for free like orcs, or would you rather have the one cutter guy go through Into the Dark Walls? If you had to pick one rule,
Into the Dark Walls, make him the only team that can go through. Let's go.
That's a hard choice. I think
make him good on one set of maps. That's it.
I almost don't know if the free pets would do anything. I'm not gonna lie. Like, the guy skull is just bad.
It kind of is. But if you get it for free, it's not the end of the world.
If you go into Horde, it can be okay.
You would take everything each time,
I guess, yeah. I suppose. I mean, they would then have 14 bodies, so maybe it's a bit too much. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
I like the wall more than though I like the pets, I like the wall more, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah, I definitely think that the team is struggling, especially with their current player base hasn't shown them to be performing well in tournaments either. So I'm excited to see that. I think they have the possibility of being good, but again, they have some really, really bad counters and some really bad matchups. And I think that's just pronounced at bigger tournaments. You might just run into the wrong thing, but also, like, there is tournaments where you can just like get the right matchup, the right thing. And you can take Kroot and you can win LVO with it. You could, it's possible. Yeah. It's definitely possible. I think that's
perfectly in your favor.
I think that is a possibility. So I'll put Kroot like a, no, I'm not going to touch it. We're moving on. Moving on. A team that everyone hates, Felgor. Where are we putting Felgor?
A.
Yeah, I think that I feel like they're probably middle of A.
I don't think their strategy changed too much. Still high.
I don't think that, like, sure, two of their dudes
if I'm going to put them in
melee.
If I'm going to put them in A, I'm going to put them at the bottom of A, because I'm closer to putting them in at the highest of B.
B tier is interesting.
I think they're relatively balanced. They do hard body certain teams. Trust me, I know.
Yep. I think
Vanguard,
I think
they
they're
just-
I think
ugh.
they're a team that we can place in A for now, and we can come back and see what the matchups
That's
look
fair.
like. And,
Okay.
That's
and
fair.
if we
That's fair.
we need to move them, we move them.
Yeah, because I mean, I think that they could still win a tournament, but can they win LVO? Like, I think the possibility is still there, but I just don't see certain people taking them anymore. Like, I do see like the possibility because like even though they got the Relentless taken away from them, changed to Ceaseless, you can still spend a command point, but they're already starved for command points. I've seen Felgo
Yeah,
players
just
go through 4 CP in one round.
turn. Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
100%,
and
yeah.
and then they just raffle stomp. You know,
Yep.
they weren't bit by spiders; they were bit by goats. You
You
know.
only need it once, you know?
Yep.
Let's finish off compendium, I guess. So we have
Custodes in C.
custodes and Tyranids
In C.
and
And demons.
demons. I personally think that all 3 teams actually might be in B.
Really?
I can
Low B, but I would say B.
I can agree with the Tyranids, and I can partially agree with the Custodes. Demons are a hard one for me to get behind because
Mhm.
I think demons do very well at bottom or mid tables, and then they just get stopped. I think they just get stopped by certain top teams like A's and
May
B's, or
I-
A's and C or S's.
Hey, may I argue with you?
Sure.
So we recently had James Robinson on the West Coast take a full Geller, a full
Plague Bearer.
Plague
Plague Bearer
and,
teams, 12 Plague Bearers, the entire tournament. And he only lost by 2 points. His only loss of the entire tournament was to 2 points to Jimmy Kelly playing Mandrakes. He beat Gellerpox. He beat multiple other high performing teams. I think that if you bring the right things, they can do well. But I do agree with you that I think that they do struggle in certain areas. Against certain teams, they do have hard struggles, like into Inquisition with a bunch of stun,
Yep.
But even into Inquisition, do you know how hard it is to remove them from capture? Like if you bring 12 Poxwalkers into capture with power weapons, like it's crazy.
Sure. No, I can see that. I definitely think that they're.
We'll put them here
Yeah.
for now, and we can argue about them in a second. Where's demons? Okay. I also cannot ever argue about Tyranids ever again. Because of LVO.
No,
No.
man.
LVO, we had the most amazing plasma spammer take them to 8th, and he fucking crushed it.
So I'm very well aware of this because even here at home, Ethan, which is another member of the Six-Sided Legion, he plays them like religiously and like takes them to tournaments, doesn't care, like does not want to move on from Tyranids. And it's crazy how good they still are. Just 10 Gene Stealers. 10 Gene Stealers
just 10 Gene Stealers.
rock.
That's
like,
all the kill team should be if it comes out.
It's crazy.
They have some bad matchups into like really high activation teams, but they also just dominate on Into the Dark, which is like usually 50% of the boards, right?
They close that gap. And Lethal 5.
There was a game I played against him with Hunter Clay on Into the Dark, and he took 5 Gene Stealers with the stupid the splash weapons,
acid,
and I couldn't do anything. Like it was crazy because he'd just stay on conceal until he was within 6, and then just splash in lethal 5, and it's like 4 damage or some crazy
or lurk, and then he could lurk and jump on you, and I'm not in range yet.
Yeah, like it's crazy how many tools that team has, just being a compendium team still.
And I think Custodes are also very, very, very strong.
I think Tyranids are better.
I think Tyranids are better.
You're talking. You're Jimmy Kelly's going to come after you.
He can
That's
come after
fine.
me all day.
He can eat my toxic sack.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
now the question is, are they all better than the people that we put in C tier so far? I think averagely they currently averagely are. I think.
I mean, at least
are
with
we talking
Tyranids,
about
like
High Fleet?
Yeah,
High Fleet. I think High Fleet eat those two teams.
I don't think so. High Fleet is good, but they're insanely good on Into the Dark, right? But if they're not playing that, then they're just fine, right? And there's these other two teams
also,
are kind of good in
also,
both.
like the fact that both of the other two teams can.
No, I'm saying C tier. Do they beat C tier?
Yeah, they could beat
They definitely beat Void Dancers. Like, not a problem.
Because they both want to get into the same. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Legionaries, it's like maybe a toss up, but I think it's probably going to Legion or High Fleet. Like, just because of the bodies and the pure output of damage that High Fleet can do, I think just kills 6 Marines faster than they can kill 10 Gene Stealers.
Well, if anyone wants to guess, like this is the clickbait part of the episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Leave your comment down below, man.
Tell us how wrong we are, and that's cool. You can dislike the video if you want, or you can like it. It's up to you. Or if you want to give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast, that's cool too.
Yeah, share this with someone who might find use of it.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on to let's do Blades of Cain. Blades of Cain.
Wait, are we leaving Custodes in B? Oh, sorry, demons, not custodes.
We can leave them in B.
They're pretty good.
I think we leave them in B for now. Yeah,
okay.
I think maybe they end up in the bottom of B, but I think they're probably fine.
I would say bottom of B as well. Okay. What team did I just say? Blades of Cain. Blades of Cain are really good in very few players' hands, like very few. And I haven't seen them win like a major. I think they're below average. As much as I like them, I also hate them because they're too complicated. And I'm an elf player, and I don't want to play them because I don't want to make my brain bleed out of my ears.
I think that they are. It's weird because they're also like an elite-esque team because they all have 3 APL and they all have like all of the extra abilities that the aspects give them and all this other stuff, right? But I almost want to compare them to Hierotech, but Hierotech are just better because they come back to life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if anything, they'd be for me at the bottom of balanced, but even then, like
I think demons might just be better than them.
Whoa.
And that's a crazy take, but I think so because of the pure mass of bodies that demons get to bring. Right.
Yeah. 12 Poxwalkers is insane.
Dang,
it's so difficult to be able to beat that team.
Yeah.
For certain things. There are certain teams that can beat them. But
even just like 6 pink horrors with ceaseless and 4/5 damage is like crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like that's better than Pathfinder shooting because they hit on 3s. Right? Like that just kills an aspect warrior, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah. I think now I'm going to say I think demons still need skill.
Oh, 100%. I think so. Yeah.
They lack recovery.
So where are we putting Blades of Cain, everyone? I think that they're kind of like in this area-ish, you know?
Yeah, that feels right. Like I think I'd put them at the bottom of balanced just because they do have tools that could be really good.
We have seen them do well, and they are good specifically on the West Coast. They are good on the West Coast. There are players out here who can win and have done really well at tournaments. Placed.
I also think that they have a lot of gotchas, which helps
tons
kind of propel them outside of just skill, right?
And they have tons of
like any archetype, most
double and triple kill possibilities when you run like Howling Banshees and other abilities. All striking scorpions going into certain teams is really good. I think where they struggle with the most is that you want to take sometimes a lot of Dire Avengers and you don't have enough Dire Avengers in your roster.
Sure.
So
roster limitation. They should have an increase to 30. So
where do we think commandos are? I'm still really pumped on commandos, and I think there's a lot of top players that are like, oh my gosh, they're so bad now. But I think they're insane.
So I agree with A tier, but do they beat Felgor in a 1v1 scenarios, right? Are they better than Felgor? So then they're probably bottom of A.
The question is, but I think they might beat Nemesis Claw. I think right now we have a rock, paper, scissors up here, but I think Nemesis Claw has.
Sure.
Yeah. I think that's a.
Nemesis
so
Claw's
how does
like
Nemesis Claw do into Felgor? That's the question.
Depends on the player.
Sure.
So I think they can beat Felgor, but I think Felgor could also beat them as well. You know?
Okay. Gotcha.
It's possible. All of our Felgor players moved on to Nemesis Claw.
Yeah,
except for some of our, there's a select few, but the one Felgor player that I know moved to Demons.
Sure. That's a wild change.
Yeah.
I mean, is it though? Like, demons are just Felgor that don't come back to life but have 2 more bodies.
Yeah.
I mean, in essence, Felgor have 20 bodies, right? Just 10 of them die right away after their one use bodies.
Sure.
Yeah.
I counted as 20 as 15, right? Because it's like each one of those is like half a body, right?
Right.
Yeah.
One more hoorah. I think Nemesis Claw still beats them because in that, obviously you're playing into them. You're going to play all engage, right? What's the point of going conceal? So then you just, if you roll really hot, or at least even if you get like 2 prescient points, right? The average. Then you just go like, all right, I don't want to activate yet. Cool. You're forced to move a couple more dudes forward where you don't want to be. Like
the ability to just extend their activation count, I think, allows them way more play into Felgor than something like Legionaries or Phobos.
Exactly.
Where are we putting Exaction Squad? We have Alexander Popov loves Exaction Squad. And,
I love Exaction Squad, but I can't give him the love on this tier sheet.
So I took
it's an S tier army team.
I took Exaction Squad to LVO, and let me tell you, they are not an S tier team.
Yeah, I know there were some people saying like, "Oh, they beat Felgor." They sure don't
beat Felgor.
The shields are kind of cool. Like, that's
cool tech. I don't think they just straight up win. It is such an uphill battle still. And like the changes to Felgor didn't really change that because they just got worse rerolls, but they don't have rerolls against Exaction anyway. So like nothing really changed. So like they're definitely at the minimum B. And I think that they're better than Blades of Cain.
Oh, you think they're better than Blades?
I think they're better than Blades.
Can they arrest Blades?
What Blades have?
They cannot arrest. They have 9, I believe. I think.
Or is it only their lead?
The Castigator can. The Castigator can.
Okay.
He arrests 10.
But I think for the simple fact that the Blades of Cain still don't
down.
Yeah, they don't like charging into the shields, right?
But now the thing is I think Exaction Squad is below average. So that means that Blades of Cain would also be below average.
Yeah. I mean,
do they beat demons?
They have a 47% win rate overall. You don't see Exaction Squad go 50-50 usually at tournaments.
So now, because here's the weird question, right?
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, they beat Blades of Cain, but they also still struggle in the Legionaries. So it's a weird spot, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be things. We can reorder this a little bit later, like be like, oh, this guy beats this guy beats this guy. But what are these guys called? Breachers definitely, I think, can beat.
I think Exaction and Breachers have a very even matchup. Like I wouldn't hurt to put them in between.
There you go.
Yeah. Like, and then you put like Exaction either in between them or underneath Breachers, like one of the two. Because I definitely think they have an even matchup into each other.
But you think they're better than Blades of Cain?
I don't know. I personally think they're better than Blades. But I think the higher end of Blades will always, the fact that Blades has another gear, like a fourth gear that they can turn on, I don't think that Exaction has that gear. If we're talking about floors and ceilings, I think Blades of Cain probably has a higher ceiling.
I think we have to, while we may not always judge on that, I think we have to somewhat factor that in,
Sure.
Somewhat.
Sure. That's fair. I can agree to that.
Corsairs for me. I think Corsairs are dog water.
That's
think
a
they're
hot take
Yeah.
because for me, I think they're way higher.
I think
That's what a lot of people say, but they have a 47% win rate. We can look it up right now.
I think it's balanced
This one?
for sure.
I think it's probably one of the only teams in the game that's perfectly balanced.
45% win rate. 45 with 236, and they dropped 10. So they used to be 10 higher. They used to be in 14th. And this past data slate, whatever happened, right? No bueno.
Balanced.
Statistically, they suck.
I still think that they're probably one of the most balanced teams in the game. I honestly think that them and Hand of the Archon are probably some of the most balanced teams that we will ever see.
I would agree. I think Hand of the Archon and Corsairs should be balanced. Pretty much elf teams in general are actually pretty balanced.
How can you guys ever compare? How can you ever compare Blades of a Hand of the Archon and Corsairs? Let me tell you what. The thing that Corsairs need to be good is they need a second gunner. The fact that they don't have a second gunner innately makes them worse than Hand of the Archon.
Don't get me wrong.
I don't agree because Corsairs have tools that Hand don't have. They have a comms. They have like a medic-esque healer. They also have a psyker, right?
But also, Hand of the Archon, when they get a kill, they just start to snowball.
Sure.
If you
get the kill.
What does Brett play all the time? Let's think.
Well,
Hand of the Archon.
He's moved on to bigger and better things. Okay.
How does Brett typically do when he plays Hand of the Archon? Pretty well.
Maybe it's a team that starts with H and ends with Arkin, but
hell yeah.
No, I talked to him at the end of Dallas, and he beat me, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, I was like, wow, 4-0, bro. Like maybe these guys are actually good. And, and then he went on and he lost the next day. He didn't do as well day 2, right? Neither did I, right? We both did relatively poor. And I was like, yo, dude, like how'd it go? And he was like, bro, they got a ceiling,
They got a ceiling.
I hit that shit, And I was like, so where do you put him? He's like, I'll put him in balanced in B, I'll put him in B tier. And I was like, all right.
I think elves just go in balanced. What order do they go in is up to you guys, but I think
if you guys are going to outvote me, that's fine, but I'm going to put it here right now. I am being bullied by these two people.
It's revenge for the bullying on the Kroot, but
that's fair.
This is revenge of the Kroot.
Okay, so where are you guys placing this dog water team?
I think it should be Hand of the Archon's middle or like bottom B. Corsairs right above them.
Okay.
Oh my god!
I think Corsairs should be in between Hand of the Archon and Blades of Cain.
I think it's the other way around. I think it goes hands, Corsairs, and Blades.
Okay. I have to go. I at least somewhat agree with G. I think Corsairs.
You think Hand of the Archon has to be in the middle of them?
Like,
bro, Hand of the Archon is better than both of these teams.
Like it has.
Are you kidding me?
But like,
Hand of the Archon's but think about what we just said with the ceiling of Hand of the Blades.
My guy. Let's look at Hand of the Archon's.
He brings out the chart.
Okay, 52% win rate. Let's see here. Blades of Cain, 45% win rate. Blades of Corsairs, 46, whatever, 46 and 45, right? 200 games, 236 games. Hand of the Archon, 52%, 153. Come on.
I'm going to say this right now. I think that Blades of Cain is in the same position as Inquisition right now. They are so massively hard to pilot that
I would agree.
There's too many average players playing them at tournaments and not doing well enough to keep up the win rate, right? Also, we just lost you again, Dakotah.
I know. I see it.
Yeah, you got to do homework with Blades of Cain, which is why I think they're still in balance, but the worst, or not the worst, the hardest elf team to play. Hand of the Archon's easy. What do? Shoot stuff, right? It's very simple to do what they do. You shoot stuff, you get stronger when you shoot stuff, and you throw the disciple of, I can never say that one, of the Y lady. Yalindra, and you just throw that, right? That's all you got to do. It didn't even get nerfed. You just do that. Oh no, the Tox Horn didn't get nerfed, right? Was that what it was?
Yeah. This one did get nerfed. It has to be placed on the floor, I think. Now.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like the Hand of the Archon's easy. Do what? Cause pain.
It always got placed on the floor at any of my tournaments. You didn't place it in the air. You freaking ding dongs.
Because Corsairs, like, you still have to like.
What I'm saying is like the Disciple Tox Bomb or not.
You can place it anywhere, wherever you want.
Placed, like on terrain and stuff like
right
that.
On the wall.
It's a token. It has to be placed.
So then what's your ruling with the Tox Bomb? Because the Tox Bomb's the exact same thing then.
It's the same thing.
I would rule it the same way.
There's already
on the
precedents.
Only on the floor?
There's already precedents for the same rule somewhere else in the FAQ.
I mean, I agree. I'm just saying I'm being devil's advocate, right? It did get changed at the same time, so that's GW going, no, it's actually different, right?
Or GW just being bad at what they do.
It was oversight, you know? They're like, maybe the team still needs this to be good.
So what's funny is there's still an oversight with Inquisition, because Inquisition has an operative and a ploy to give somebody ignoring all modifiers to their characteristics, but it never got changed like Exactions did. Where Exactions Cascader can't, like, his defense dice can now be modified by AP. Inquisition's rules never got changed, so it's stupid. But anyway, that's my own rant.
I guess we'll figure that out later. But
that is fair.
I think Corsairs need to be in the middle because they're still a little harder to play because they're still kind of glass cannon-y. And you don't always want to kill. Sometimes you just do light fingers and pick up objectives and just run around the board, right? Which maybe not every player fully figures out how to do that. But again, Hand of the Archon, shoot stuff. Easy idea, right?
Sure.
So that's why I think they're the best elf team in this tier.
Yeah, you're going to have to let my camera cool down. My camera's telling me it's overheated. That's okay. Well, podcast people don't know.
They don't even feel the black void because it's always a black void.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So we'll move on to the next one. Let's go on to Brood Brothers, the two new teams. Let's go over the two new teams. I think Brood Brothers are definitely. Put
them in A because we haven't decided on S yet, right?
Yeah, I think they're definitely above everything in A so far.
They have so many good rules from all these teams.
They're just a control team that has a lot of bodies,
and they can play kill too. Like,
and how about Jaegers? I think that Jaegers. I haven't seen them at a tournament, so sometimes it can be a little difficult for me to know where to place them, or seeing a lot of people talk about them.
I've played against them a couple of times now, and what I can say is that on Into the Dark, they are extremely good.
Okay.
On open board, they struggle a little bit more because of the movement thing, and like their forward deploy is also like meh compared to some other teams. But when it comes to Into the Dark, they can control the board so well. And having 3 APL on 3 guys every turning point after the first one, being able to like move up, open doors, shoot things, and having the bodies to outplay some teams is, in my opinion, crazy good. Like better than Hearthkin. But
I think they're better than Hearthkin.
I can't say anything about them on open board. I don't think they're better than Hearthkin.
Bro, they're so
not with the change. Not with the change.
I think
Hearthkin fucking sucks.
Hearthkin can stand an objective now. They can
they can stand an objective.
They're going to be a little better.
They're going to be a little better against Felgor. Get out of here.
I think Hearth can take it on open, but I think Jaegers take it whole-handedly on Into the Dark.
See, another problem that Jaegers have, they only have 2 real gunners, the sniper and the gunner. So you take out one of them, you reduce their power. Like, all I had to do to stop
they got shotguns. They just got to shoot it. They just got to shoot a salvage.
I just had to take one turn, run a guy up, and just charge the sniper. That was it. And then, like, it didn't matter whether I lost that fight eventually. I didn't even really have to fight. The sniper didn't do something for 2 turns.
You also played a sniper who was on engage.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you this, G. Let me ask you this: was this player playing Jaegers? Was he or were they using the damage reduction ploy every turning point?
Yeah, to keep him alive. But again, I just needed to distract them for 2 turns.
That ploy whole-handedly like gives the team so much of advantage against so many teams. It's crazy.
I think we've seen the upper echelons of salvagers, and there's like one or two people out there that can kill with the team.
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen that upper echelon from Jaegers, and I think that
it's yet to come.
I think actually the counter matchup, I would actually give the counter matchup to salvagers
because
but I
of the
think
Dakotah.
yes, absolutely. But I do think, and they also have a 4-inch movement, but
5-inch movement for the salvagers.
Yeah, the salvagers. Yeah. But I would say that the salvagers still have way more bad matchups currently.
Yes.
Than Jaegers. So I think that they would. I would put both teams probably in balanced, but I would probably put the Jaegers way higher up than the salvagers.
I would agree.
I'm a salvager hater.
So I have seen
just because salvagers beat Vetguard doesn't mean they're good.
I have seen the bads and the goods of salvagers, and let me tell you, they definitely have a ceiling, and their floor is also very high, which makes them a hard team to learn to play. Which Jaegers don't have that issue because they have so many more tools, I think, in their toolbox.
Salvagers is one of the hardest teams to play because not every single model is different. Every single model does something special. Yep. Every single model.
It's like playing Khazarkin, but you have way more, I think way more flexibility, but that also can strain the mind, right?
Because there's more choices. Because Khazarkin you get your specialist and then you have to take a warrior.
Yeah.
So
I think Jaegers have a higher skill ceiling, and I think Jaegers are easier to play. And that's why I put them higher.
And I'll be honest, they have incredible rules, right? Like if you play them right, their gunner and sniper is really all you need. Like you can control lanes just with those two guys alone.
Well, yeah.
And then the mine is scary.
The mine dude is nuts. The I don't remember the guy's name.
The Bombast? Guy.
The Bombast is cool. But what's the one that can just take away cover within 6 or conceal order within 6?
Not the tracker. I think the guy with
the tracker because he has because he also has double silent weapons. Mm-hmm. That's crazy to me. Yeah, he's such a powerhouse for the team.
So are they both going in balanced? Or are they going in A tier as well?
I'll put them in balance.
I think it's too soon to call Jaegers A tier, but I think they're high A. I think they probably
high A. Mm-hmm.
I think
are they better than Phobos?
I think they're better than Phobos.
I would agree. Now
I think
salvagers
they have more tools than Phobos.
Don't forget that
I think salvagers are better than Compendium.
Can get super conceal.
Yeah.
Are salvagers better than
the teams above them? Probably not. But in against Jaegers, I think they can beat Jaegers. But that's just one team, you know.
Yeah.
I personally think that Hyrotech and Phobos beat salvagers.
I think Tyranids beat salvagers because
I think Tyranids also beat salvagers.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Moth.
The super conceal is too hard.
It's just too much.
Yeah,
because they don't have a way to take it away.
They don't have a way to take it away, and I think
they have plasma knives. And here's the thing about salvagers: they have plasma knives, and now they're tankier on objectives.
That's true.
Versus melee teams, they are tankier.
And sometimes it's all you need.
But they only have 7 wounds, right?
They only have 7 wounds. They still die to Gene Stealers with their damage reduction up.
Yeah, but
how much damage does Gene Stealers do in combat?
4 or 5 down to 3-4 with the damage reduction.
Vetguard beat Tyranids all day long, right? And I think that they're on the same level as Veteran Guard. I would put them in front of it because I think that Tyranids have a weakness against higher activation teams because you can just throw out a couple people, have the Tyranids come up, kill them. Then you kill those models. You throw out your couple more people, they come up, kill those ones. And then they have 2 left, 1 left. And then you can just win the game.
So you're saying that their trades are worse.
Yeah.
I can probably agree to that.
I would switch them back.
I think I am okay with switching it back because for the fact that Hearthkin have the Grenadier with the micro, what's it called, nanomine,
the slowdown thing,
as well as what's it called?
Still can't believe Corsairs are balanced.
And I forget what the other thing is.
Oh, they can delay an activation.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's probably what puts them over the edge. But
so let's go through the rest of White Dwarf teams. So we have Hunterclade, We have Warp Coven, and we have Wormblade. I think there is one team better than the other two.
Sure.
But I think they're all relatively good.
So
I think
Wormblade
that
is
Wormblade,
doing A, right?
in my opinion, I think Wormblade is either above Brood Brothers, or they're right behind Brood Brothers.
You think that Nemesis Claw loses to Wormblade?
Yes.
It's the
A
bottom.
good Wormblade,
Interesting.
a good Wormblade player will beat a Nemesis Claw. Maybe not always, but they will always they will most likely always beat them on loot. Always.
Sure.
Right? Capture and Secure are still a little bit worse, but like we have some really good Wormblade players. We have Jason Stanecki and we have Anthony Martin on the West Coast, and they crush people.
So,
right?
And I also know Jonathan Reynolds is a very, very prominent Wormblade player here in the Midwest. And but let me ask you this: what happened between Last Day to Slate and now? That now all of a sudden
they're both
because
they were both above 55% win rate then, and they're still above 55% win rate now.
Sure.
I just won just as many tournaments.
I just feel like
I think they're at a 54% last time, and they're at a 55.67 this time. I can bring back up the sheet.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely, like, stats are definitely like telling the story.
Hard
but
facts.
I also know 6 months ago they were not great. And
I would say people didn't know how to play them.
And there was
Wormblade is still at a 56% win rate with 163 games, right? Gellerpox are right below them. I will give Gellerpox a caveat. There are two players that have a 90+% win rate on them. That's John Reese and Orion. That now they do have quite a large pool of players, Gellerpox. So it's not just them performing well with them, but they are two people who are pushing those numbers to above the 55% category.
Could you not?
Wormblade,
so for devil's advocate here, sorry, could you not say the same thing for Wormblade here with Anthony, Jonathan, and I don't remember the other person.
Jason.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think there are people who play Wormblade poorly as well. So I think that innately the team and the amount of rerolls that this team get is a little bananas and bonkers.
Honestly, it's really the rerolls for shooting. Like I was watching Jason's game, and half the time he's like doing Coiled Serpent. Oh, it's like, I just came out from Conceal, so I get to do this one thing. Like it's just constantly rerolling without really having to have an opportunity cost because it's built in, which is like.
I think that in my opinion of the past two data slates has not changed. I think that Wormblade and Gellerpox are the two strongest teams in Kill Team, specifically because of the people who are playing them, and specifically because of the tournaments that they're winning or that they're getting close to winning. And they haven't touched them in many data slates. So who knows? But I definitely, my opinion has always been that Wormblade and Gellerpox are some of the strongest teams.
Sure.
I hate the Keller morph. He's my
I'm not okay with putting Wormblade in S.
No,
but I think they're an A for sure.
I don't know if I have not seen enough of Brood Brothers to compare the two.
Agreed.
I almost want to say Brood Brothers have more tools than
I
Wormblade
think that
do.
I think they do, but I think Wormblade's consistency is on another level.
Again, I haven't seen
but I don't know.
Brothers perform. Like I literally have not seen them played. So
Same.
I couldn't tell you. Like
I've seen them at tournaments. I've seen how they've been doing, and they've been crushing things. But I think that people are dropping Wormblade too much because they function very similar to Wormblade.
Sure.
Well, yeah,
I will leave it up to you two because I don't have a
sure.
particular opinion either way.
I think Gellerpox are right there with them. Whether or not like everyone can perform Gellerpox the same way, their upper echelons have shown that they have not.
Throw them in there.
They have not.
Yeah,
fallen
no, I
whatsoever.
mean Gellerpox at this point are still a menace.
They're like neck and neck half the time.
Yeah.
I would also. Yeah. No, that's fair. Yep.
Now I have a hot take. If there's any team on this list that would be S tier, there's two teams in my opinion. That would be Mandrakes and Scouts.
So
weird choice.
God, okay. Let me say this now because I have played a lot of Mandrakes in the past few months, like a lot, and just I plan on taking them to my next tournament. A little teaser there for you, but we'll get into that later. Anyway, I think Mandrakes with the new teams out, I think Mandrakes have a few rougher matchups.
100%.
I think, and here's a hot take here. At least on Into the Dark, I think they struggle into Jaegers, and it's a weird opinion, but I think there's way too much control that Jaegers have. And I have seen a lot of debate of Brood Brothers doing the same thing and being very controlling, have a lot of bodies, so Mandrakes can't double kill them very easily.
Ace did lose to a Brood Brothers player in that 92-person tournament.
Yeah,
6 points to 21 points.
Playing Mandrakes
into Brood Brothers.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the few teams that straight up counter them right now. I don't know how, but I think there are other teams. In my opinion, Mandrakes were one of the S tier teams last data slate, but since Scouts came out, since Jaegers came out, and a few other teams, I agree with you. I think that they are in A tier. I think that they're a high A tier. Mm-hmm. And if you are going to push them into S tier, I think Brood Brothers have to go with them.
In my opinion, I think Mandrakes still can lose to any of the teams currently in A tier. I think that's the reason why they can't go into S tier. I think that they kind of struggle in the Commandos. They can lose. They usually beat Felgor. They can lose to Nemesis.
Maybe this is a hot take. I don't know. I don't think that they should be losing games against Commandos or Nemesis Claw.
No, they shouldn't.
I think Mandrakes are too much of. They have too much.
They can do anything.
Yeah, they have too much control and way too much board stabilization to let Commandos and Nemesis Claw do anything.
I remember what G said. Is there any abilities that absolutely break a team? And in my opinion,
the Night Fiend.
No, not really. No. I don't think I think if they got rid of that, the team would still be just as good.
Okay.
Especially like there's a few people on the West Coast that are very opinionated on how the team should function.
Sure.
And none of them think that you should be using if you ever use the Night Fiend's ability, you're probably playing it wrong.
Sure.
The Night Fiend doesn't jump up front and do any of that kind of stuff, but this is not
I'm of the reverse opinion that the Night Fiend is probably the most powerful piece on the team. And
it is.
And you have to use it as a control piece very early on. Otherwise you can get flooded out, but that's just a different play style in my opinion. Yeah.
I think that they do get hard countered by even Scouts. I think Scouts with their 4-6 damage double tap, a lot of them, or they have shotguns.
Sure.
But back to what I was saying, they have a teleport ability that kind of breaks the game, right? Yep. They have that ability that is that S tier caliber. And I think that can really push them there. I think they are a team that definitely can win any event. But I think that they have to be taken by a good player.
Yeah. And it's funny because I almost compare the teleporting, like you said, it's an S caliber piece, like tool, to Pathfinder's worthy costs, right? Yep. It is an S tier, like S caliber piece that just wins games and wins tournaments.
That's what I wanted to ask when we finish our A tier thing here. I wanted to ask what's the ability for each one, and then we can judge the abilities. Like the best abilities will go to S tier.
And while on the topic, I think here's a take, and maybe this is bias. I think that Mandrakes beat Pathfinders any day of the week.
I have heard that actually,
and especially after the nerfs, I think Mandrakes just should be beating Pathfinders.
I've heard that, and I do think there's a skill gap. I think that there is. The majority of Pathfinders will beat Mandrakes, but I think really high level play from Mandrakes can beat Pathfinders. But I think it's difficult.
And it's weird because I've played plenty of games with Mandrakes into Pathfinders. Teaser here. We have a battle report in the queue waiting to be edited. And this was pre-nerf Pathfinders, like this pre-data slate Pathfinders. But it's so weird because the game is so even for so long, and then you can start to lose with Mandrakes, but you bring it back because of the teleporting, right? And the smoke, like the smoke bomb, and all these other tools that like you can sit there with a 2-point deficit and just bring it back at the very end of the game by 1 point, and you just like that's just how it happens.
Yeah,
and that's no exception when playing Pathfinders.
but the one thing is that we do want to say mandrakes score the most secondaries in the game.
Yeah. Oh, it's
right?
the easiest to score secondaries with.
Pathfinders typically struggle to score to max.
Yep.
They when they play and they win, they usually win by crushing their opponents and putting their little hooves on their opponents' throats rather than just maxing score. When you see mandrakes might not do that. They just max score because they can, because they're mandrakes. Now, scouts and pathfinders, let's put them both in A for now.
Yep.
I don't know where they're going to exist in here, but I definitely think scouts are underrepresented and underplayed in a lot of areas. And I don't think that a lot of people are playing them correctly. We've seen, like I said before, I've seen them play to their full potential and they've almost taken down major tournaments. And now they're even better. And that's scary because they might not have been unlocked in every region to their full potential. A lot of people call them stat bots and stuff like that. While that might be true, I think the team is actually good. Like they have abilities. Like they are so good against salvagers, it's insane. Like you literally just put a couple booby traps out. Like if you know what things to use for scouts to dominate the board early, like you can just lock dwarves into their own deployment zone and just crush them.
They have a similar feeling to Jaegers with the mines and like just controlling board before the game even starts. And it is kind of like scary to play into because you like most teams don't do that. And so they're not used to having to play around it. So seeing that can be a little intimidating to try to push up on points or like whatever else. So
shit, if you even get close to them, they can shotgun you to death or stab you to death.
Yep.
And then they can also be like, oh, your person's obscuring. Now he's not obscured, and now I'm going to shoot you with a missile launcher. Like, okay, they're insane. Moving on to Kasserkin.
Put him in C.
I think Kasserkin are really balanced.
I think that
I would agree, but
I would agree, but I think they're bottom B. I think they're bottom B.
Okay.
Highest.
I don't think they beat the elves.
I don't think that they beat the elves. But I think that they beat Night Lords.
Giacomo is smoldering here.
I think that they beat Breachers. They definitely beat Exaction. It's just too hard to play around the shooting.
Giacomo's two teams
and all that
are bottom tier. Sorry, G.
I know this going in. Again, it's always down to just melee, man. Three dice on attacks. Brood Brothers have 4. Whatever.
Yeah.
I completely forgot we were doing.
You know what's funny is I think that Exaction's melee is only ever better than Kasserkin's.
Yeah,
because they get 4 dice.
It's literally the dice. Like, how are these elite troopers only 3 attack dice? Like, okay, guess I can live with that. I guess if you're getting into melee and it's not your sergeant, you're probably losing. So that's fair.
Yeah.
I forgot we were talking about White Dwarf. So let's move back to them.
Oh, sure.
So we're doing Hunter Clade. I think Hunter Clade is top of balanced. I don't think they're an A.
I think they're really good.
If you're playing, if you're playing, I know you're a Hunter Clade aficionado, so maybe you can disagree with us and sway us, because this is one that I'm willing to sway on. I think they're a really good team, but I think they're better on Beta Decima.
So I haven't played Beta Decima with them, but I can see the reasoning behind that. I personally would like to see them bottom A. I think they outclass anything in B tier, in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, I would have put them at the top of B tier, so I'm willing to put them at the bottom.
I think that they're bottom A, and I think maybe we can rearrange things afterwards. But I definitely think that they beat anything in B tier.
I want to make one argument in B for them being an A. So when I look at A, it's more like a circle, right? A circle of things countering. I don't know if Hunter Clade is doing enough in that ring to really stay in
I
A.
think they do. I think
You
they
think
do.
so?
Yeah, I think that they have a really good matchup into Felgor. I think now, like, they can probably go
Can they
one.
beat Mandrakes?
What's their?
I think so. I think that they can contest Mandrakes.
What about Brood Brothers? Well, we don't know.
I was about to say, I don't think they beat Brood Brothers, and I think it's probably an uphill battle. I know it's an uphill battle against Gellerpox. I know Gellerpox just beats Clade.
And how about Commandos?
Commandos and Hunter Clade now are very even. Like, they were already pretty even, in my opinion, before all the changes to Commandos, but now I think it's even more so.
What about
Like,
Scouts?
it's not just
we have seen Hunter Clade do really well in Australia, so I know their potential is 100% there. I can't argue that they're not in A tier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or like, I still think they're top of B, but I can't say that they're not A. You know what I mean? Like, they don't perform as good in US.
I think that they definitely can go toe to toe with most stuff in A tier right now.
Okay.
That's right. And they do, like, I still don't think right now they have any bad matchups. I think Gellerpox is probably their worst. And it's probably
there's a lot of things that don't like Gellerpox.
Sure. Yeah. Like, right. But I think before the data slate stuff, like before all the changes to Commandos and Pathfinders, I think Commandos were probably a scary matchup for them, and Felgor were too. But now, after the changes, I think that they go toe to toe with those teams, like, very easily, in my opinion.
So now we have Warp Coven. I think Warp Coven is balanced.
I think they're balanced.
I think they're top of balance, though. I think they're pretty good.
I don't know about top of
balance. Do you
balance,
think that they're better than Hyrotech?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
100. I think they definitely are. And I think if you ask me last patch, no. I think they're even better than Phobos. I don't know if they're better than Jaegers, though.
I can probably agree with the Jaegers.
They beat a lot of elf teams, I think.
Yeah, I think that they definitely beat
not Blades.
The elf teams.
I don't think they beat Blades, but there's going to be a little bit of rock paper scissors everywhere.
Do
and
they
every
beat Custodes.
Yeah, I think so.
Not SoCal's Custodes, but I think probably the majority of Custodes.
Okay.
I think after the buffs, I think they probably have the upper hand against Custodes. Yeah, it's realistically right now it's between whether or not they go in between Phobos and Hyrotech for me, or if they go below Hyrotech for me. I don't think they're better than Phobos.
What about you?
I think they go below Hyrotech.
Okay, we'll put them there then.
Yeah, it's just one of those, like, a team seems to have the tools, but at the end of the day, you're just using a bunch of, like, bird people to fight because you're going to go wide against
if you lose a single sorcerer, you are at a very bad disadvantage.
Yeah,
but sometimes I think the team can even be run one sorcerer, 10 Zangors.
I think so too. I think
there's
totally
definitely.
viable.
I think that they are. I think that the team has enough flexibility that if you're practiced and good enough with the team, you can win a tournament. But I just don't think. I think that they do suffer to dice, and they can suffer. I just don't know if they can win like a super major or something like that.
Yeah, like the full AP on the rubrics is very good. But if you roll poorly, you roll poorly, right? Like they're almost in the same boat Corsairs are, where like they don't have very good innate rerolls outside of the sorcerer's melee. So
yeah. So we'll move on to Inquisition. I think Inquisition suffers enough in the US that I put them at the bottom of A, but I think that they are a minimum A. I think that if we're just talking US, I put them in balanced.
Which team is this? I'm sorry.
Balanced. Inquisition.
Inquisition, sure. So I think they fit very well into the rock, paper, scissors circle of A. Because I think they beat Hunter Clade. I think they probably beat Scouts. But I don't think they beat Pathfinders. I don't think they beat Wormblade. Like it's very hard for them to control those teams when they are.
I also don't know if they beat. I don't know if they beat Gellerpox either, or Brood Brothers. Maybe.
I think.
Oh, they do beat Brood Brothers, I guess, because we just saw the top 2 players in Spain play against each other.
So
I
think
Brood Brothers lost by 1.
I think Inquisition and Brood Brothers play a similar play style, but I think Gellerpox just beats Inquisition by sheer force of bodies, but also sheer force of wounds to chew through.
True. I think they're really good. So are you also saying Colts? Because we talked about Colts at the beginning of the episode. Do you still think Colts is an A tier in this giant melee of melees?
God, that's so many teams in A tier.
I don't think,
but here's the thing.
I don't think Colts has like an innate ability to be like really strong, and this is like a standout move. They just have a lot of bodies and are strong. With
no teams in S tier, we'll clip that.
Let's go.
but I don't know if like these teams actually just beat, like I don't know if like Colts. Sorry, I don't know if any A tier teams make it into the S tier team. So obviously the A tier is going to be bigger because I think we're in a relatively balanced state in Kill Team, which is good. People are saying we're at the end of the edition, so we should be at a more relatively balanced state. We shouldn't have teams that are just like, choke holding people, Yep.
Yeah. So the only reason why I say they go in A is because they beat teams like Mandrakes. I think they beat Nemesis Claw. Even without rerolls, I think that just the sheer amount of wounds that they can still get with the healing and everything, I think they still go toe to toe with Felgor and Commandos. I think Pathfinders still probably beat them, but that's just Pathfinders like shooting.
I think Gellerpox beat them now. I don't know about Brood Brothers.
And Wormblade is still a toss up for me.
So for me, the only thing that I would argue about putting them in A tier is how unpopular the team is. I think if we saw popularity rise on the team, I could put them in A tier, but the sheer amount of players that are actually going to take them to a big tournament, I just don't even see people bringing them to tournaments in general.
Sure.
I think
I think the same could also be said again, like with Pathfinders, right? Like Pathfinders and Pathfinders have a bad taste to bring them.
But I'll bring it back up, everyone. If we look at the difference in play rates, right? Pathfinders have 239 games last data slate, right? And if we look at Colts, they have 46 competitive games.
That's a big difference.
That's a big dip.
The difference is like these are 16 person events, 4 rounds, right? So in 53 tournaments that we pulled the data from, there was only 46 total games for Colts. And in my opinion, they dropped 13 places. They were number 4. They were really, really good. The problem is their popularity to me. I think the team is strong, but I just don't even know if I see them going to like somebody bringing them to LVO. Like, I don't even think we had a Colts player at LVO.
I think there were 3 or 4 Colts players at LVO.
Okay. There could have been.
Yeah.
There was no Warp Coven.
Yeah, there was zero Warp Coven.
No Warp Coven.
You're right. That one, you're right. I remember that.
That was back then.
Yeah.
I think they suffer from not everyone getting to do mission actions, right? When you become the biggest thing, like that's when you can start avoiding them and just like, all right, they're not going to do missions realistically, depending on like the game, right?
Yeah, like I would be comfortable putting Colts anywhere in B.
Sure. I think
I'd even be comfortable putting them at the top of B because I do think that they are insane. I think they're insane.
I still think that they're good enough to beat any team in B. I personally think that they have really good matchups in a lot of A, but that's just me.
I would agree. I would love to see you come out and smash some people with them instead of going to this Mandrake knife ears upside,
Yeah,
But I really enjoy the play style of Mandrakes. But I've also thought about going back to Colts and and playing them without all the negative like connotation that comes with it, right? Because that's a lot of the reason why I stopped playing them. It's just like people hated it. People hated playing against them. It was like
much like
just a bad vibes thing, right?
Yeah.
But
so I think we only have is it just 2 teams left? We're going to get murdered if we do miss any teams.
We need to
but
do
that's
Star
okay.
Striders.
We have 3.
Star Striders and Blooded, right?
Vetguard as well.
Oh, Vetguard.
Yeah,
that's my team. How can I forget?
your team. What are you doing?
I think that I put Vetguard either at the bottom of balanced or right above below average.
Do you think Khazarkan are better than them?
No.
I do not think Khazarkan are better than them.
Do
you think Corsairs and Hand of the Archon are better than them?
Hand of the Archon, maybe.
Hand of the Archon and Blades do beat up on them. Corsairs do not. They beat Custodes. They beat what's it called? The Tyranids. They can beat them. The Demons. They do not beat Salvagers. They do beat Phobos. They do beat
I don't know if they
Hyrtech.
beat Jaegers yet. Maybe they do.
I don't know. I don't know if they beat Jaegers. They could.
Because
Yeah,
the
I think it's a
Jaeger's mind can
possibility.
blow up a Vetguard.
So,
maybe and after the nerfs, I don't think they beat Colts anymore. Like
No,
I
don't think they beat him in the first place.
That
I
feels
think
like an
that
appropriate
I
spot.
think that there was a chance. Like there
Yeah, there was definitely a chance.
But it was-
I've never lost to Colts.
Yeah, but like at this point in time, I think Colts should just win that matchup.
Mhm.
No.
I would agree. I think that I put them right below Salvagers because I think that's the first thing that they really stumble into is Salvagers.
Sure. Because the 3-up saves. And
well, not only that, but it's also hard for like Vetguard want to cheese by getting out of the deployment zone and getting closer to you and dominating the primaries.
Hard
and
to
you
just
can't.
stop that, yeah.
They stop that, and then Hearthkin are hard to remove, even for Vetguard. The 3-up saves they can be difficult to remove
with 8 life.
They're tiny little las guns.
Mhm.
And now we have Blooded and Star Striders.
I think both are B. Easy.
God, see, I have a very high opinion of Star Striders.
Okay.
And that's just
Mhm.
because I've seen a lot of really good play from them and not a lot of bad play. I think Star Striders are better than Blooded, like by far.
Agreed.
Gosh, it's a toss up because I know that Star Striders don't beat Colts, but I think Star Striders beat Hunter Clade, and I think they beat Scouts, and I think that they can go probably toe to toe with Commandos now. But that's just me, and knowing that I have seen their ceiling, and it is very, very high.
Do they beat Colts?
I don't think so.
No.
Do they beat? Well, I think they beat the rest, but I think I would put them right behind Colts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can they beat Heretic Circle?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
Blooded.
Yeah. Blooded. I think I 100% put them above Vetguard.
Oh, 1000%. Yeah.
I think I'd put them maybe right behind
Star Striders.
Star Striders or Jaegers? I don't know.
Jaegers
we don't know enough about Jaegers.
Is so weird because and I think so. Blooded shine on Into the Dark, like they're very good on Into the Dark. They're better on Into the Dark than Open, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But Jaegers are so much better on Into the Dark than Open, and it's like that toss up for me, right? Like I think
they also do like 4/4 damage, right?
Yeah.
But Blooded like to die.
And they have way better melee. Like, and they just jump up on, like, they do the Vetguard thing of just jumping on points and just flooding objectives. But they do it so much better because they want to die, right?
I think there's always, like, when we're looking at the tier list, I think that all these can shift a little bit back and forth. Sure. But I think we have a really good grasp on kind of where we want, outside of Corsairs.
We need to vision.
But I think that I think the game is really balanced right now. I think there are like 8 or 9 teams that are below average, right?
Yeah.
The 45% win rate tier they're struggling immensely. I mean, I don't know if I put these guys have a 50% win rate, but again, they do have only 60 games played. And they're another team that when they got nerfed, everyone literally just stopped playing them. So they're a hard team to read, right?
Yeah.
These teams suck, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a really...
What about
we can...
Oh yeah, we forgot novitiates. I think novitiates are like maybe middle of B somewhere.
I've seen them do really well.
They've been
I've seen
coming
them
up
almost
again.
win tournaments.
Yeah, they've been coming up again.
I don't know if they can win a super major. So maybe
I think my biggest problem with them is that they are similar to Star Striders in the fact that they have 10 bodies with 7 wounds.
they lose to every team in A tier.
Yeah,
Maybe not every
100%. I think so. But
they lose to melee teams. They lose to Felgor hard. They lose to Commandos.
Yep. They lose. They just auto lose.
They lose to
Mandrakes,
Colts.
I think.
But
Like,
I do
Mandrake's
think
just a
I think
hard
they
killer.
beat the rest of the teams. I probably put them right behind Colts. I
Yeah,
think
'cause
they
they don't
also
really-
beat Star Striders.
They don't really lose to shooting teams.
You can just blinding aura.
Exactly.
You can just
or stay
blinding
safe
aura.
and,
I
you know,
think they're worse than Star Striders.
I would say they're
because
worse
Star
than
Striders
Striders.
have more tools. And technically another activation, right? They do have an 11th activation.
Would they lose to Blooded?
What? Novitiates? I think it's like a super even matchup.
Okay.
Like they probably just die if they get in melee, but novitiates have enough shenanigans to stop that, I think. And it's like I feel like it's very samey. Like a good novitiates player goes toe to toe with a good blooded player, I think.
Okay.
Like on Into the Dark it might be a different story, but overall I think so.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty much good. Now, I think all we have to do is rearrange a couple of these up here. I don't necessarily think I agree with Scouts and Pathfinders being as low as they are.
No,
But
and those were two teams that you just kind of threw in there.
Yeah, so I think that I probably put Scouts here
They replace what orcs could do, right?
and
Like,
maybe
it's
Pathfinders
essentially they're
here.
just like scouty orcs, really scouty orcs.
Yeah, they do what Scouts want to do and better.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I think that they kind of replace Commando's spot, but I think they do it a little worse because they can't all charge from conceal.
Right.
can't-
Old Commandos would
yeah.
still be S tier.
Yeah,
right? They'd
yeah.
still
Old
be
Commandos
S
would
tier.
still, I think, still beat every one of these teams for a majority of the time.
But having 4/6 and rerolls is nice.
Yeah. Whoa.
turning
That
green.
was
Don't worry about me.
That was
Don't worry
crazy
about.
looking.
Yeah, I turned into a Necron.
Oh
I'm
my goodness.
secretly.
You need to caption that with like I don't know, praise the Tomb Lords or something when it pops up. I don't know. That was
There
weird
is no
looking.
S tier, is what it just is.
Yeah.
In teleporting.
Overheating cameras. You know, it is what it is.
Clickbait.
What are their ability? What are each of these teams' abilities that are like stand out? Either an ability.
Now you guys know secretly who I am.
right?
No.
Like, what are the standout abilities in A tier?
I think so. I think
if it is-
I think Gellerpox's
I-
Barge is crazy still. I think
Barge
that's
is
probably the
crazy.
strongest thing they
It
have.
gets
Like
you
I
out
think
of
it's
nowhere every time.
I think it's S tier like value like tool wise. It's like nuts.
That and their 124 wounds.
Yeah, but
And
you know
then
and the
whatever.
Feel No Pains.
Barge
And
cool.
their Feel No Pains.
Barge go burr.
And their 15 models, essentially.
I think so. Like obviously, Mandrakes is the teleporting.
Mhm.
Pathfinders, it's worthy cause, right? Like
Worthy
those
cause.
two abilities are just
And their guns. They're 4/5
damage.
guns.
God, on regular guys. Jesus.
Nemesis Claw. I haven't played
Vox
enough
Scream.
to know. Is it Vox?
It's Vox
Is
Scream.
it Vox Scream?
Holy shit.
It's Vox Scream and then the
And
amount
then,
of damage
the
they can do in
prescience.
close combat.
Yeah, like
Sure,
and the
sure.
reduction. It's like Vox Screen and Prescience alone is so strong.
Sure.
We have a lot of good
Forget
Nemesis
their
Call players on the
ability,
West
like
Coast. Too. It's insane.
in Midnight Clad. People forget that rule exists sometimes.
Yeah.
So like, but Vox Screen, it's just like one of those. You have to expect your thing. You thought you were going to get it. Nah, Vox Screen.
Sure.
Vox Scream.
Sure.
Like it just gets you.
Which it's really funny because Mandrakes have a very similar thing, right? With the Dirge Maw and the Night Fiend. But
Vox Scream, the Dirge Maw.
yeah. So Felgor, it's Frenzy, right? Like
It's
Frenzy
Frenzy.
just
It's
has to
Frenzy.
be their S tier like capability.
They die and then they don't.
Yep.
Mhm.
Like that, it's still just a wild thing in Kill Team. Commandos, I Justice Scratch, I don't think is their S tier thing anymore, right? Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't work on the most impactful damage in the game, which is crits.
Nemesis Claw also have just a Scratch ability.
Yeah. Now to me, here's the other thing.
Sure.
Here's the other thing about them. Like every team would still love to have the current Justice Scratch. Any team would love to have it.
Sure.
I still think it's still definitely there. The fact that you get to ignore damage, whether it's a crit or not, I think the crit thing is overblown. Like, yeah, can you auto kill an orc because of it in math? Yes. But like you can still not die. You know, like they still have the possibility.
It's clutch.
What it does is it makes shooting attacks against them way better. Right? Like because that's where the crit, like the no crit thing dominated. Because it's like, I take one for cover, I get one from Skulk About, and then I just ignore your crit. Yeah. Right.
Well, orcs should just be in conceal anyways because they can charge from conceal.
I actually think that's their better play now. It's charging from conceal.
So I was
wound profile.
I was talking to Jason about this when I went up there for a tournament. He was on Compendium Greenskins. And if you're unaware, Compendium Greenskins have is it still 10 bodies or is it 11? I think it's 11.
Is it 11?
I don't know. I
don't remember. It's either 10 or 11 bodies. They all have 10 wounds. They all have choppas except for the rockets. Mm-hmm. So, and then they still have pre-nerf Justice Scratch. So it's like we were talking about it. The play style for Commandos might just be take all boys and give them, because all the boys have pre-nerf choppas, and then you just give them like climbing ropes to climb over stuff. And what's it called? What's the stupid shooting, the weapon that you can take? It's not sledgehammers. Oh yeah, no, it is sledgehammers. Sorry, it's not shooting. You give like your 2 gunners sledgehammers. And like that's the build. And that's the build. And you just play like a silent charge from conceal, like full melee build. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So like I think the play style needs to change. I think they're still good. I just don't think that they really move. I just don't think that they have an S tier ability anymore. In my opinion.
I would probably agree.
Yeah.
I would have.
How about Hunterclade? Hunterclade
don't
the Rust Stalkers plus the thing that they just ignore.
Optimize Gate.
Optimize Gate. That's so annoying.
So
that and their fight twice.
I
don't think it's S tier, but it's annoying.
The thing that Hunterclade have is the ability to have 5 Rust Stalkers with basically 4 APL.
Yeah,
is nuts.
Okay.
As well as like just insane synergies with the GA2 with the leader, using the servo skull on like a Rust Stalker to like open doors on Into the Dark, and all this other weird stuff. They still have a lot of tools. I think they're still in a place that they have downgraded tools from every team, but they do everything really well. Mm-hmm. And that's never changed. And I personally, I think they beat Commandos now. But neither team has a dominating ability anymore. Yeah. So,
and then you have Inquisition, and they have the Nope, and they also have
the Nope.
They have the Nope, and they have the Nope. Yeah. They have Denounce, and they have the whatever it's called, Authority.
They can also take a lot of
authority.
Some good bodies.
Yeah,
they have a lot of like flexibility, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I'm relatively comfortable with where it's at. I don't think that there is I still do not think there's an S tier team.
I think a worthy cause is just an S tier ability.
So I think that there's S tier abilities. I don't know if I had to make an S tier, right? I think it would be Brood Brothers, Gellerpox, Mandrakes, and Pathfinders. I think those would be my 4. But because they all have crazy S tier capabilities and like things that just other teams don't have.
Yeah, don't forget the dash on Mandrakes, man. That thing fucks me up more than I'd like to admit.
My 4 would be Wormblade, Gellerpox, Scouts, and Mandrakes.
Sure. So Gellerpox and Mandrakes. Got it. Let's go.
Killer Box
That's
for
the
sure.
true S tier.
Pathfinder still have it with Worthy Cause. This comes out of nowhere and hits you. And I don't want to say Brood Brothers yet because it's still kind of early, but I feel like a lot of their abilities, since if we're saying Wormblade does it, they kind of do it too. And then they still do other things of other players because they can go like, I can either reroll this or I can add 1 or subtract 1 or whatever for their going first. So they have more control.
Plus they have 2 ways of stunning things with like pretty much infinite range. Like
they have the most gotchas, I think.
I think the caveat for like my S tier things is just I just know like the top tier capabilities of those teams in certain players' hands, right? So like, but like if we're talking like a general thing, you know, those players aren't at every tournament. Those players aren't everywhere in the world. Like ultimately, like any of these teams in anyone's hands can win the tournaments, can win, you know, in your pickup games.
I think
is relatively insanely strong.
Like, I think anything in A tier can win a tournament. Especially now, right? Like, and it's weird because like the only one I haven't seen anything from realistically is Hunterclade. But I think it's too like all the changes, the 2 new teams are still.
Hunterclade's won a lot
recent.
in Australia.
Have they? Okay.
Yeah, but it was mostly on half Into the Dark, half Beta Decima tournaments.
Well, and if that's the case, right, like they have the capabilities of winning on Beta Decima. So like if a tournament has maybe 1 round of that, they just win, right? Like they have that advantage that a lot of teams don't. Like, let me tell you, Mandrakes on Beta Decima suck. Like, if Beta Decima is ever like the meta thing for tournaments, Mandrake aren't going to perform well.
They're going to lose.
Yeah, because their teleport just doesn't work. Their S tier like ability doesn't work, and it's so weird.
Yeah, what are they going to teleport on the floor?
Yeah, on the floor next to a gantry that is out in the open. Like, okay,
it's useless.
So I think we're relatively good at calling it here. I'll download this bad boy.
Yeah, I'm okay with calling it with no S tier because I am personally not a big fan of S tier either because S tier, like in my opinion, is just A tier, and then A tier becomes B tier becomes C tier, right? Like it's just a new A tier.
I'm gonna do this just for the YouTube.
The clickbait.
I feel like we should rename S tier and just get rid of it and call it like standout abilities where there's only like 1 or 2 that are like, you know, really just fuck you up in a game. Like it's just like it's a thing that just turns the tide, right?
I think if we did that, this whole thing would be different because I think that there
it's
are
still not
a lot
like,
of
not A tier, right? Because you could still like the Mandrake's ability to teleport is like it fucks you up out of nowhere, like you mentioned. You can come back from nowhere, and it happens.
You can also say the breach and clear is insane. It's absolutely game changing, right?
If breach and clear was on another team, it would be game breaking.
Yeah, but I should make the caveat. It's an ability with the bodies and other rules that help it do that because those abilities let you do something so strong.
I feel like that's a different tier list entirely. Like if you had that,
I mean, it would just be strictly Tyranids, for A, realistically.
I think Tyranids would probably be an A, but I think because of Lurk, but I think like Custodes and demons would just drop. I think that they're like Custodes face shields and maybe not being able to like be injured is not up there. But
I mean, if it's just S tier abilities, right? Like I think Hyrotech and Warp Coven are S tier teams because they have an S tier ability. Right?
Sure,
Hyrotech still has Nanomind and that's what I'm saying, right?
Like which of these A tiers has like the one ability that like we'll probably see, right?
Yeah, that puts them above the other teams.
Right, but not enough that it's going to absolutely kill them, but it's just like this is a strong ability that everyone has to watch out for, right?
It gives them
I
such
think
an advantage.
Only one team that we've all agreed on was
Worthy Cause. Oh, I was thinking, a Worthy Cause, man.
A Worthy Cause, I think a Worthy Cause is really good, but you can't nuke Turning Point 1 anymore, so why ever do it?
I just think Pathfinders now lose to more than enough teams in A tier to not be S tier. Like I don't think that they just have guaranteed wins against like a majority of these teams.
Yeah, okay. I think it's I think it can be really difficult, but also Pathfinders, even though they're a really good team, they're only really good in like 10% of people's hands. Like if everyone obviously if everyone took them to a tournament,
wouldn't you argue that everything here is
but
only good in 10% of people's hands?
yes.
So
and that's why there's no S tier.
Right, which I'm fine with.
Yeah,
I'm just talking about abilities that we would get rid of the S tier altogether.
I also think that it's important to look at like the other type of map that we use for tournaments, and that's Into the Dark. And Pathfinders still aren't good on Into the Dark.
Okay, I don't know about that.
They're fine. They're just not as good as any of these other teams in A tier. Right? Like
that's true. I think Nemesis Claw is good on both. I think Gellerpox is good on both.
Maybe Inquisition. And I do think that Wormblade's buff on Into the Dark is a lot. But I think ultimately where I want to see nerfed is Wormblade's rerolls, I think are insane. Like the fact that they're like, because here's the thing, I did the math. No matter what you get, if you miss every roll, if you get 1, 2s, and 3s, you're always going to reroll 2 dice. And you get a minimum of 1 reroll on every roll. A minimum.
Sure.
So you get every 1 reroll or multiple, and like heaven forbid you roll 3 2s, right? So
that's fair. I also know for a fact that like there are those moments, and it's funny because you could say this about anything, but there are those moments where you get 3 2s and you roll them back into 3 2s.
That's true.
Right. Like
that's true.
That happened, and it's something to bring up that like at Kansas City last year, Jonathan Reynolds shot my icon with a shotgun and re-rolled 2 fails into 4 hits, or into a fail and a normal, and it still just didn't matter because of the saves. So like dice can still be dice, and sometimes it's not enough, but I think the re-rolls are a little bit too much with the rest of the team.
I will say that I think we should call it here, everyone.
I think this is a good time to call it.
Let me try to get this camera back on.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It is late where you are, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's about to be midnight.
Nice.
So it's not like super late, but I do have work at 8 a.m. So like relevant.
Let's get this back into focus a little bit. There we go. All right. So we'll go back to Discord view. Everyone that is watching the YouTube, thank you very much. Anyone that's always listening, we're going to round this out how we typically round out podcast episodes. Shout outs, first and foremost. I want to thank everyone who is a listener, everyone who watches, anyone who supports us, especially those that are on Patreon. We really appreciate you, and we have a lot of fun and cool, exciting things coming to you guys. A lot of times for Patreon, we also give out things at events or at LVO. So if you come to our tournaments, you get even more. So thank you for joining us. And also check out Hobby Highlander. We have 6 episodes, 3 that are being finished, edited, and we have 3 more that we just filmed on Saturday. That is where we blindly test paints so that you don't have to see which color is the best from each different range. So that's my shout outs. G, do you have anything?
Of course. You can always find us on Discord, which the links will be in the description, whether you're watching it on YouTube or you're listening to it on the podcast. You can tell us what you think about this tier list. You can tell us what you think about the games or other games in general. You know, it's always fun to talk on there. I want to shout out to everybody who's listening, everybody who's watching our stuff, and it's always really appreciated. And if that's all you can do to help, that's perfect. That's more than enough, But if you want to go a little extra, you can give us a like, you can give us a follow. You can share this with a friend. And that's always really appreciated.
How about you, Blayne?
Well, first and foremost, you guys are amazing, and it's always a pleasure, being on here and coming to your guys' events and listening to the content, right? And shout out to all the other content creators, because without everybody, I don't think Six-Sided Legion would have the traction it does, because we wouldn't have anywhere to post our links for our content and, advertise, right? But also, shout out to, Six-Sided Legion. We are still making content. It's a little bit slower because of life, but we're hopefully getting back on the bandwagon very, very soon. We've got some battle reports that we're in the works of editing out and getting on the channel. I know we also still are trying to plan on doing some podcast stuff maybe in the future and some other hobby stuff coming out. So
hell yeah.
Otherwise, anybody listening or watching can catch me at the St. Louis Open or the St. Louis Tournament Gateway Open next month. It is going to be one of the few tournaments I can go to this year.
Nice.
So it's going to be awesome, and I hope to see anybody and everybody there.
Play
So
cards.
we'll see.
He's gonna play Mandarin.
I've got some time, but
That's fair.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. So
That's fair. And to everyone else, we'll see you next time.
So, yeah. The Squad Games podcast is a production of Squad Games Entertainment. For more information on Squad Games, please visit our website at lestersworkshop.com/squad-games.